Chapter 50:31. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Thank you so much, but your father is so powerful. If I rashly go there and your father makes a move, I'm worried that I will die miserably." This, Fang Yuan couldn't help but ponder. It was indeed as Lin Feng said. Just like that, Lin Feng might be in trouble. She knew how powerful her father was. "I have to think of a foolproof plan," Lin Feng said. He was thinking of a feasible plan, but Lin Feng really couldn't think of a good one. In the face of absolute strength, any act of playing tricks, it was a joke. This point, Lin Feng was extremely clear. Fang Yuan said, "I've thought of a way." "What way?" Lin Feng asked curiously. Fang Yuan's pretty face immediately blushed. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter in his heart. Looking at Fang Yuan's blushing face, she seemed to be shy. What was the method she was talking about? How could it make her so shy? Lin Feng was really puzzled. "What method is it?" Lin Feng asked again. Fang Yuan said with a red face, "Let's go back together. I'll tell father that we don't know each other until we fight. Then we'll like each other. This way, father won't deal with you." "You want me to pretend to be your man?" Lin Feng exclaimed. Fang Yuan's pretty face immediately turned even redder. She didn't know why she would say such a method. Fang Yuan used to have a lot of suitors, and those suitors kept chattering around her, making Fang Yuan very unhappy. Therefore, Fang Yuan had always been quite disgusted with men, but when she was with Lin Feng, she felt very comfortable. She really couldn't hate Lin Feng. Moreover, in Fang Yuan's heart, it seemed that she still wanted to do something with Lin Feng. Thus, she naturally said such words. Said Lin Feng, "That's a good idea, but after all, I destroyed Fang Wushu's physical body. Doesn't your father hate me? If he hates me, then this matter will be difficult to deal with." Fang Yuan said, "You don't have to worry about that fellow Fang Wushu. Now that his body has been destroyed, even if he recovers, he won't be as strong as he is now. Father only has me and Fang Wushu. So in the future, one of us will inherit the Forgotten City. The Forgotten City has always been about strength, so there have been some female city lords in history. Apart from having a good background, how can Fang Wushu compare to me? Therefore, you don't need to worry about Fang Wushu. Father knows what to do. The only thing you need to worry about is Fang Wushu's mother's people. I don't know if they will attack you or not, but even if they attack you, don't be afraid. I will protect you. Besides, with your cultivation level, even if you can't defeat them, it won't be difficult for you to leave." Hearing Fang Yuan's words, Lin Feng finally relaxed, although it was still dangerous to rashly enter the Forgotten City in order to save the Little Rock King. Lin Feng was not afraid of danger. "Good. Then let's do as you say. I just don't know if it will affect your reputation when the time comes," Lin Feng said. Fang Yuan said, "It's fine. This way, I can also tell those fellows who have designs on me that I'm already taken, so they shouldn't have any ideas about me in the future." At this point, Fang Yuan's pretty face slightly blushed. In fact, she was somewhat happy that Lin Feng had agreed, because this meant that Lin Feng believed in her, which was why he agreed. Lin Feng said, "I am very willing to be this flower protector. If there are any blind fellows who dare to pester you, I can help you deal with them." "All right." Fang Yuan nodded. The next day, Lin Feng and Fang Yuan set off together to return to the Forgotten City. Fang Yuan's Fa Li had already recovered a lot, although it had not completely recovered. However, it shouldn't take long for him to fully recover. When Lin Feng and Fang Yuan arrived at the Forgotten City, the people of the Forgotten City immediately discovered the two of them. "It's the young miss who's back. Why did that guy come back with the young miss? This is really strange. Could it be that the young miss has taken him in as a male slave?" many people couldn't help but start to discuss. Quickly open the city gates and welcome the young miss back to the city. The city guard general said, "Yes, yes, yes." Then many of the guards said, just as they were about to open the door, their eyes suddenly widened. In his eyes, it was as if he had seen a ghost, because those people saw that Lin Feng had actually reached out his hand and wrapped it around Fang Yuan's small waist. Oh my God! What the hell is going on? That guy, he actually dared to hug the young Mrs. Small Waist. Was this a trick to catch him dead? Would the young miss directly chop him into pieces later? Many people couldn't help but mutter in their hearts. He could feel the warmth of Lin Feng's hand. Fang Yuan's pretty face couldn't help but blush slightly. Being hugged by Lin Feng was a rather special feeling. There seemed to be some joy and some shyness, but there was no disgust. What's wrong with me? Is this still me? Fang Yuan asked herself in her heart. She couldn't even believe it. The current him. He was really the same as before. Lin Feng hugged Fang Yuan's small waist, and then said in a low voice, "I don't want to take advantage of you. It's just that by doing this, others will believe that we are in a relationship." "I understand." Fang Yuan nodded with a red face. The two of them walked towards the Forgotten City. When they entered the Forgotten City, many of the Forgotten City's guards stood on both sides, looking at the two of them, and then whispering to each other. They naturally knew what kind of personality Fang Yuan had. Now, to actually be hugged by a man like a little bird, it was truly too unbelievable. That man, how did he conquer Fang Yuan? Fang Yuan was the #1 beauty in the Forgotten City, the goddess in the hearts of countless people. Therefore, seeing Fang Yuan being hugged by Lin Feng, many people looked at Lin Feng with envy and jealousy. What ability did this guy have to be able to hug a beauty? Naturally, many people were unconvinced. Fang Yuan's body leaned against Lin Feng's embrace very naturally. She couldn't help but have a thought in her heart. If she and Lin Feng were really in a relationship, how great would that be? When this thought appeared, Fang Yuan couldn't help but be shocked. She didn't know why such a thought would appear in her heart. Chapter 5032. Looks like you're quite popular. Lin Feng whispered into her ear. The reason he said that was because there was a sea of people along the way, and these people were obviously here to see Fang Yuan. But Lin Feng could see that many people were looking at him angrily. Some of them were looking at Lin Feng with envy, jealousy, and hatred. Obviously, these people were angry because Fang Yuan and Lin Feng were too close. Thus, they were hostile towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's claim that Fang Yuan was popular was not without reason. Fang Yuan said, "Of course, I'm a goddess. There are naturally many people who are pursuing me, liking me, and secretly admiring me." Fang Yuan's words were not wrong. She was indeed worthy of being called a goddess. Her figure, appearance, talent, and cultivation were all extremely rare. Even compared to the top 10 fairies outside, she was not much worse. Thus, there were naturally countless people who liked her. Yuan, who is this person? At that moment, a group of people walked over. The leader of the group, a young man in embroidered clothes, looked at Lin Feng with a gloomy gaze. Lin Feng had heard from Fang Yuan that she had many suitors, and those people annoyed her to no end. The person in front of him should be one of Fang Yuan's suitors. "Can't you see? He's my man," Fang Yuan said indifferently. Then she leaned her head on Lin Feng's shoulder, looking very loving. "I don't believe it." The young man in embroidered clothes sneered. "Not long ago, you were still chasing after him. In the blink of an eye, you two became lovers? No matter who it is, no one would believe such a thing." "You don't believe it? Facts speak louder than words." Lin Feng said, "Yuan, why do you want him to pretend to be your lover? Could it be that you thought of this method to reject my pursuit? The young man in embroidered clothes said, Zhang Zichen, you're too self-righteous. There are many people who are pursuing me. There's no need for me to find someone to pretend to be my lover because of your pursuit. Fang Yuan said impatiently. Zhang Zichen said, Fang Yuan, you don't believe what you're saying, right? Don't you just want to prove that there's nothing between us? I can prove it to you right now and let you know that we really are lovers. Fang Yuan said coldly. The next moment, she took the initiative to kiss Lin Feng's lips. Oh my God, look, they're actually kissing. They're really a couple. How is this possible? My goddess has fallen, just like that. Who the hell is that kid? Wasn't he being hunted down by Fang Yuan? How did he end up with Zhang Yuan in the blink of an eye? What goddess? Goddess my ass. In the end, she'll still become a man's plaything. Don't say that the grapes are sour just because you can't eat them. Everyone has the freedom to pursue love. You can't say something sarcastic just because you can't get Fang Yuan. He saw Lin Feng and Fang Yuan kissing. There was an uproar all around. Everyone was discussing spiritedly. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. There were all kinds of people who said all kinds of things. Naturally, there were also many cultivators who spoke ill of him. Do you believe me now? Their lips parted. Fang Yuan looked at Zhang Zichen and said coldly. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. He had actually been ambushed by a beauty like Zhang Yuan. Moreover, he had been ambushed in front of so many people. Seriously, a person was just like their appearance. A wild beauty like Zhang Yuan did things without considering the consequences. Zhang Zichen's expression was extremely unsightly. He looked coldly at Lin Feng and said, Kid, who do you think you are? Do you think you're worthy of being called Yuaner's lover? I challenge you to a duel. The loser will withdraw. Lin Feng was speechless. I won't accept your challenge. You coward! Don't you even have the courage to fight me? Yuan, do you see this guy's character clearly? He doesn't even have the courage to fight me. Do you expect him to protect you when you're in danger in the future? Zhang Zichen said gloomily. Lin Feng said indifferently. I don't want to fight you, not because I'm afraid of you, but because Yuan is my woman now. I don't need to fight you. If you have nothing to do, you can buy a piece of tofu and play with it. Hearing Lin Feng's words, Fang Yuan immediately laughed. Many people also couldn't help but laugh. Lin Feng's words were obviously teasing Zhang Zichen. Zhang Zichen is the son of the Vice City Lord. That kid doesn't know Zhang Zichen's identity. Now that he's envied by Zhang Zichen, he won't have a good ending. Let's just wait and see, a cultivator whispered. Actually, the Forgotten City was not dominated by a single clan. The Forgotten City's Devil Sand clan was divided into 5 major clans. The most powerful clan was Fang Yuan's clan. Her clan had always been the city lord of the Forgotten City. The other 4 clans were also very powerful. Zhang Zichen's Zhang clan was one of the 4 clans. It was a powerful force that no one dared to underestimate. In many people's eyes, Lin Feng was just an outsider to the Forgotten City. Even though Lin Feng's methods were extraordinary, could it be that he could contend against the top forces of the Forgotten City? Obviously, he couldn't. Therefore, everyone was interested to see how this dispute and conflict would end. Brat, if you don't dare to come out and fight with me, then you don't dare to come out and fight with me. Why are you looking for so many excuses? Only a coward would find excuses for himself. Zhang Zichen looked at Lin Feng indifferently. This Zhang Zichen was not a simple person. He had cultivated for 360,000 years. Although he could not be considered a young cultivator, but he could be considered a young cultivator. He had cultivated for such a long time, so his cultivation was naturally extraordinary. He also knew that Lin Feng's cultivation was not weak, but it also depended on who he was compared to. Compared to him, he was far inferior. Lin Feng was not angered by Zhang Zichen's words. With Lin Feng's temperament, he would not be angered by Zhang Zichen's words. He indifferently glanced at Zhang Zichen, then said, "Whatever you say, I have no interest in fighting with you." "Zhang Zichen, hurry up and get out of the way," Fang Yuan said in a bad mood. Zhang Zichen's face was incomparably gloomy. Being reprimanded by Fang Yuan like this made him feel very embarrassed. However, he did not dare to be angry at Fang Yuan. Firstly, Fang Yuan's status was more honorable than his. Secondly, Fang Yuan's strength was stronger than his. He naturally did not dare to vent his anger on Fang Yuan. Chapter 50:33. You don't have to worry about my affairs. Also, I'm not particularly familiar with you, so don't call me Yuan in the future. This will make the people who love me misunderstand. I don't want to be misunderstood by my lover. Fang Yuan said. Zhang Zichen clenched his fists. His expression was gloomy, and he didn't speak. If it wasn't for Fang Yuan's presence, Zhang Zichen definitely wouldn't be able to suppress the anger in his heart and would attack Lin Feng. "Let's go." Fang Yuan looked at Lin Feng and said. Lin Feng nodded and left with Fang Yuan. The news that Fang Yuan brought Lin Feng back to the Forgotten City had already spread to the city lord's mansion. So, when Lin Feng and Zhang Yuan arrived at the city lord's mansion, outside the city lord's mansion, there were already many people gathered. Basically, they were all from the Feng family. In the distance, there were some cultivators who were watching the show. Feng Wushu's soul body was also among the crowd. When he saw Lin Feng, Feng Wushu's eyes suddenly revealed a dense killing intent. The person Feng Wushu hated the most was Fang Yuan. The person he hated the second was Lin Feng. Originally, Feng Wushu thought that the two people he hated the most would inevitably have a fierce battle. In the end, one of them would definitely be killed. Of course, the best-case scenario would be that both of them would be injured and die. At the beginning, the battle between Lin Feng and Fang Yuan was indeed quite fierce. This made Feng Wushu very happy. Feng Wushu had been waiting for the news of Lin Feng and Fang Yuan's battle to come back. He really hoped to hear the news of the two's eventual death. However, after waiting for a long time, he heard the news that Lin Feng and Fang Yuan were together. When he heard the news, his first thought was, how is this possible? Because Feng Wushu still knew his sister quite well. She didn't have any good attitude towards any man. So many outstanding geniuses pursued her. She didn't agree. Even Feng Wushu felt that his sister shouldn't be interested in men. And Lin Feng was her enemy. Shouldn't the two sides be fighting to the death? How did they become lovers in the blink of an eye? This kind of thing, not to mention Feng Wushu, even the other people in the city lord's mansion did not believe it. Feng Junshan even asked again. The cultivator who came to report the news also had a bitter smile on his face. Then, he told her everything that he had seen. This included some of the intimate actions between Lin Feng and Fang Yuan, as well as some of the words he said during the conflict with Zhang Zichen. Therefore, even if they didn't believe it at first, after hearing these things, they believed that Lin Feng and Fang Yuan were really together. And now, all of this had been verified. Many of the city lord's mansions, people began to whisper to each other. They also found it inconceivable. Fang Yuan was a woman who didn't care about any man. She actually acted so small and delicate in front of Lin Feng. The same thought appeared in everyone's mind. How did that brat conquer Fang Yuan? Wanting to conquer Fang Yuan was no different from an extremely difficult task. At this time, Lin Feng and Fang Yuan arrived in front of the mansion. Fang Yuan said, "Father, this is Ji." Previously, We didn't know each other until we fought. After a great battle, we each discovered that the other party was the person we were looking for, so we got together. What kind of reason is that? Everyone looked at each other in dismay. A moment ago, they were fighting to the death, and the next moment, they actually fell in love with each other? Was there really such a thing in this world? This brat couldn't have seduced Fang Yuan on purpose, and then he wanted to plot something, right? Many people couldn't help but guess in their hearts. However, they naturally wouldn't say these words out loud, because if they did, they might offend Fang Yuan. Gee, this is my father, the city lord of Forgotten City. Fang Yuan then introduced her father to Lin Feng. Uncle. Lin Feng bowed to Fang Junshan. No need to be so polite, Fang Junshan said. Only then did Lin Feng stand up. At this time, Fang Wushu roared. Fang Yuan, you clearly know that my body was destroyed by this brat, and I almost died at his hands. I can't live under the same sky with this brat, and our hatred will never end until one of us is dead. Now, you've actually gotten together with him. What are you thinking? Fang Wushu was truly furious. He had imagined that Lin Feng and Fang Yuan would both be seriously injured, and in the end, both of them would die. However, the reality was completely different. This was a huge difference, and Fang Wushu couldn't accept it. What does it have to do with you, who I get together with? Fang Yuan didn't give Fang Wushu any face at all. Her mother had been killed by Fang Wushu. This was actually a secret, and Fang Wushu didn't know about it. Fang Yuan had never mentioned it either. Fang Yuan hadn't taken revenge yet because she was accumulating strength. The faction behind Fang Wushu was too powerful, and she was still weak. Therefore, she had to continue waiting. She had to wait until she was strong enough, until she had enough power in her hands. Then she could talk about taking revenge. Now, they were at odds with each other. The faction behind Fang Wushu wouldn't interfere. Fang Wushu naturally knew that he couldn't explain this to Fang Yuan, so he looked at Fang Junshan and said, Father, Fang Yuan brought back the enemy who destroyed my body, and now she's saying that he's her lover. Fang Yuan has ulterior motives, and I'm guessing that they've been together for a long time. When I suffered at this brat's hands, it was most likely instigated by Fang Yuan. It had to be said that Fang Wushu's brain worked quite quickly. When Fang Wushu said this, many people frowned and pondered. This kind of thing seemed to be possible, said Lin Feng indifferently. Don't try to ruin our relationship. Your physical body was destroyed because you wanted to kill me. Besides, you also wanted to steal my friend's beauty. But your cultivation level wasn't high enough. So I killed you, said Lin Feng indifferently. Fang Wushu sneered. Brat, do you think my father will believe your words, or mine? Said Fang Yuan coldly. Fang Wushu, that's enough. Don't say that I didn't instigate you. Even if I did, so what? All these years you've sent people to kill me time and time again, but you've never succeeded. You think you've done it flawlessly, but I already knew it was you. I just didn't say it out loud. If you can find people to kill me, can I find people to kill you? Fang Yuan, don't slander me. Chapter 5034. Fang Yuan sneered and said, You know very well whether you did it or not. If you insist on not admitting it, you can let the respectable people in the family search your soul and see if they can find the answer from your memories. Fang Yuan, not only are you slandering me, but you are also a little crazy. Even if we have a small conflict, you don't have to search my soul, right? If there is any change, I will be doomed eternally. What are you planning? Father, do you see? Fang Yuan even harmed her own brother. If she is in power in the future, who knows how many cruel things she will do. Why don't we destroy her cultivation and let her give up all her thoughts? Fang Wushu said. Enough. Shut up. Brother and sister should be united, but the two of you are fighting to the death. This is really disappointing. Moreover, this is outside. Don't you think it's embarrassing enough to fight like this in front of so many people? Fang Junshan said coldly. Then he left. Seeing Fang Junshan angry, the others didn't dare to say anything. Fang Junshan's prestige in the Fang family was extremely high, even in the Forgotten City. He was also the person with the highest status. The rest of the people kept their mouths shut and walked into the mansion. Brat, just you wait. I won't let you have an easy time. I will make you die miserably. Fang Wushu looked at Lin Feng with hatred and said coldly. After saying these harsh words, Yi Zichen said. Fang Wushu quickly left. Let's go in. Fang Yuan said. Okay. Lin Feng nodded. Then, Lin Feng and Fang Yuan walked in together. The mansion was very large, and it was divided into many different areas. For example, the office area, the cultivation area, the living area, and so on. Fang Yuan brought Lin Feng to the guests' resting area, although Lin Feng and Fang Yuan were in a relationship in name. In reality, it was just a pretense. Of course, even if they were a real couple, he couldn't live with Fang Yuan as soon as he came to her house. At that time, Fang Junshan would probably break his legs. Your friend is imprisoned in the prison. I don't know if he has been sent away or not. Rest here for a while. I will go and ask around. Fang Yuan said. Lin Feng nodded and said, Sorry to trouble you. Don't be polite with me. Fang Yuan looked at Lin Feng with her big watery eyes. 2 hours later, Fang Yuan came back to Lin Feng's room. How's the investigation? Lin Feng asked. Fang Yuan said, I've already made some inquiries. Your friends are still being held in the prison, but they were captured by the Great Elder. The Great Elder is on Fang Wushu's side, so if I want to take them away, the other side will definitely not agree. What we have to do now is to not expose our purpose. If our purpose is exposed, it will be very difficult to take them away. I'll find someone to help me take your friends away from the Great Elder. Hearing Fang Yuan's words, Lin Feng was very happy. He couldn't wait to see the little Peng King, but Lin Feng knew that this matter couldn't be rushed. Otherwise, it would be counterproductive. Now, he just had to wait patiently. Fang Junshan's study. Fang Junshan was drinking tea with a few ancestor-level powerhouses. Apart from the ancestor-level powerhouses, the Great Elder was also present. These people were the higher-ups of the Forgotten City's Fang family. Fang Wushu was also present. Fang Wushu said, Father, that Ji guy must have some secret. Fang Yuan is colluding with him, and we don't know what they are planning. We have to be careful. Fang Junshan said, Is that how you talk about your own sister? At this time, the Great Elder said, City Lord, in fact, I also feel that there's something strange about that kid, but I can't pinpoint exactly what's strange about him. We've all seen how Fang Yuan treated that kid before. Now that she's suddenly on good terms with that kid, there's a lot of suspicious things about this matter. For example, did the two of them really get to know each other through a fight? Was it really after a fight that they fell in love with each other? If that's not the case, then it means that they've been together for a long time, but Fang Yuan said that they've only gotten together now. Why would Fang Yuan lie? When a person lies and weaves a lie, there must be some unspeakable secrets. But what are these unspeakable secrets? Perhaps only the person involved knows. Sometimes we can turn a blind eye to some things, but there are some things that we can't do. This is my opinion. City Lord, what do you think? Fang Junshan smiled indifferently and said, This is the Forgotten City. Do you think that Jijin will do something in the Forgotten City? Unless he doesn't want to live anymore, but I don't think he's that stupid. So your worries are unnecessary. But father, Fang Wushu still wanted to say something. Feng Junshan waved his hand and said, I know what you want to say. I also know some things that you think I don't know. I didn't tell you some things not because I didn't know them, but because I didn't want to explain them too clearly. I hope you understand. As for the enmity between you and G, that's between you juniors. After I change your fate, you can deal with it however you want. I won't interfere with you. All right, go back and rest. You're only left with your soul. Even though you've practiced some secret techniques to prevent your soul from dispersing, you still need to cultivate more. Otherwise, it will harm your soul. Feng Wushu was furious. He knew that his father was secretly on Feng Yuan's side, and that made him furious. However, he did not dare to express the anger and jealousy in his heart. The person in front of him was his father, and he controlled his fate. Yes, I'll take my leave, said Feng Wushu. City Lord, I still have some things to do, so I'll take my leave as well. After Feng Wushu left, the Great Elder also left. Feng Wushu was waiting for the Great Elder outside. When he saw the Great Elder come out, he went to greet him. Said the Great Elder, if you want to get rid of that boy, you don't have to do it yourself. Many people want to get rid of him, such as that boy from the Zhang family. After saying that, the Great Elder floated away. Chapter 5035. At night, the City Lord's mansion hosted a banquet to entertain Lin Feng. Feng Yuan's father, Feng Junshan, also attended the banquet. He was an expert at the gold immortal level. Originally, Lin Feng thought that Feng Junshan would ask him some questions, such as where he was from, who was in his family, and so on. However, Feng Junshan did not ask any of these questions, which made Lin Feng very surprised. Perhaps Feng Junshan had his own thoughts, but he did not know what Feng Junshan was thinking. In fact, even if Feng Junshan asked, Lin Feng was not afraid of being exposed, because he had already thought of an excuse. It was not a problem to bluff his way through. This time, Lin Feng wanted to save the Little Rock King. As long as he could save the Little Rock King, Lin Feng would immediately leave. Therefore, he did not want to have too much involvement with the Forgotten City, nor did he want to have too much conflict with the people of the Forgotten City, especially the people of the City Lord's family. The banquet ended. Lin Feng returned to his residence. After a simple wash, Lin Feng went to bed. However, when it was late at night, Lin Feng opened his eyes. When he was outside, Lin Feng had always been more cautious. Even when he was sleeping, Lin Feng would still leave some of his spiritual will to observe the situation outside. Lin Feng's spiritual will sensed that something was wrong. Lin Feng got up and went outside. He saw the moonlight shining down. A beautiful woman in a long silver dress was standing in the courtyard. This beautiful woman looked to be in her 30s. Naturally, she was extremely young. Of course, in the world of cultivators, one could not judge someone's age just based on their appearance. However, no matter what, this beautiful woman in front of him was very charming. Her figure was plump and charming, and her face was extremely beautiful. Moreover, her temperament was rather noble. However, the aloof attitude in her eyes made people feel extremely uncomfortable. Lin Feng did not know this beautiful woman, but since she was able to appear in the City Lord's mansion, she must be from the City Lord's mansion. Other people would not be able to sneak into the City Lord's mansion. Madam, why are you here in the middle of the night instead of sleeping? If word of this gets out, I'm afraid it will affect my reputation. Lin Feng said. The beautiful woman replied, It doesn't matter. Even if word gets out, I don't care. Lin Feng replied, Don't misunderstand. I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about myself. I'm afraid that it'll affect my reputation. After hearing Lin Feng's words, Li Yunhong nodded. The corners of the beautiful woman's mouth twitched, and then her eyes turned cold. You're that, G. The beautiful woman said coldly, That's right, it's me. Who are you? Lin Feng asked, You don't need to know that I'm human. You just need to know that from today onwards, you're a cripple. The beautiful woman's voice was ice cold as she walked towards Lin Feng. Shameless boasting, Lin Feng sneered. Whether or not I'm boasting shamelessly, you'll know soon enough, the beautiful woman sneered. At this moment, her body suddenly emitted a terrifying aura. That aura shocked Lin Feng. This woman, she was actually a Tao immortal, and a Tao immortal with a very high cultivation level. What a powerful cultivation level. Who was she? How could she be so powerful? The beautiful woman sent a palm strike towards Lin Feng. That terrifying palm strike was extremely powerful. Lin Feng didn't want to continue fighting with the beautiful woman. He wanted to end the battle quickly, so Lin Feng took out the epic war spear. During this time, Lin Feng needed to get used to this treasure. He still couldn't use it like an extension of his arm. However, fortunately, he could already use some of the treasure's power. Lin Feng held the epic war spear and stabbed towards the beautiful woman. The epic war spear's power didn't need to be explained. It was terrifyingly powerful. It was a treasure passed down from the Sovereign Emperor clan, so it was naturally different. Now that Lin Feng had become one with the spear, he was like a god of war that had descended to the mortal world. The beautiful woman's attack was actually very powerful. When she sent out her palm strike, it even formed a powerful palm intent. The surrounding void seemed to have been confined by the powerful palm intent. Such a terrifying power made one's hair stand on end. However, Lin Feng, who was holding the epic war spear, was fearless. The terrifying spear shattered the void and dispersed the terrifying palm intent. Then, it stabbed towards the beautiful woman's chest. Lin Feng rarely killed women, especially beautiful women. However, it depended on the situation. The woman in front of him was very dangerous, and she was very hostile towards Lin Feng. Therefore, Lin Feng didn't mind killing her. Of course, if he could capture her, it would be a good choice. However, he would have to wait and see. After all, it was still hard to say what the final outcome of this battle would be. The beautiful woman obviously didn't expect Lin Feng to be so powerful. After feeling the power of the spear, her pretty face changed slightly. Just as the spear was about to pierce through her chest, the beautiful woman took out a powerful defensive treasure. It was a golden tortoiseshell. It was unknown what it was. The golden tortoiseshell was placed in front of her, and Lin Feng's spear stabbed towards the golden tortoiseshell. Clang! Following a clanging sound, the golden tortoiseshell blocked Lin Feng's attack. The golden tortoiseshell was indeed a powerful treasure. The beautiful woman retreated, trying to distance herself from Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng followed her like a shadow and stabbed his spear again. This time, the power of the spear was even stronger than before. The beautiful woman still controlled the defensive treasure to block Lin Feng's attack. Clang! 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 After blocking 4 more attacks, the defensive treasure finally couldn't withstand Lin Feng's attack and was destroyed by Lin Feng's spear. Then, Lin Feng swept out with a total annihilation. It was a very ordinary move. However, because Lin Feng's epic war spear was too powerful, the most ordinary move had now become a peerless killer move. Therefore, when Lin Feng swept out with his spear, it immediately formed a terrifying spear light. The aura of the spear light was incomparably terrifying. The beautiful woman also sensed the might of the spear light. She didn't resist it, but chose to retreat. With a ripping sound, the beautiful woman's clothes were torn apart by the spear light. Fortunately, she retreated quickly. Otherwise, she would have been killed. Otherwise, the attack just now was really dangerous. It seems that your cultivation is only SOSO. With this little strength, where did you get the courage to find trouble with me? Chapter 5036. The beautiful woman's expression was ugly. She was powerful, but the magic treasure in Lin Feng's hands was too powerful. As a result, she was suppressed to the extreme. In fact, the beautiful woman was extremely unconvinced, but what was the use of being unconvinced? Sometimes, magic treasures were also a part of one's strength. So, even if she was unconvinced, she had to be convinced. Lin Feng's attacks were endless, and the beautiful woman was forced into a sorry state by Lin Feng. I originally wanted to kill you, but now it seems that I can capture you alive. It just so happens that I lack a bed warmer at night. I think you can barely be my bed warmer. Lin Feng looked at the beautiful woman and said, hearing this, the beautiful woman was furious. What kind of social status did she have? At that moment, someone surprisingly dared to say that she was barely qualified to be a maid. Her heart was filled with killing intent. She wished she could cut Lin Feng's corpse into 10,000 pieces. However, she also knew that it was extremely unrealistic to want to kill Lin Feng. Moreover, she was still in an extremely passive state, and her own situation was quite bad. Being able to smoothly escape from Lin Feng was already a very good thing. As for the rest, she didn't dare to hope for anything else. I underestimated you, the beautiful woman said. Yes, so today you will have to pay a price. Lin Feng fiercely scraped the beautiful woman's charming body and face. You're not a good person either. The beautiful woman said coldly, Is that so? I don't think so. I think I'm an extraordinary person, full of justice. Lin Feng said. The war spear in his hand swept towards the beautiful woman once again. That's just what you think. Your eyes betrayed you. The beautiful woman said coldly. This time, she took out a jade talisman to block Lin Feng's attack. When she took out the jade talisman, the beautiful woman had an extremely pained expression. Obviously, that jade talisman should be extremely precious. Otherwise, the beautiful woman wouldn't have such a pained expression on her face. Everyone loves beauty. Even though we're enemies, I have to admit that you're quite pretty. You're barely worthy of my attention, said Lin Feng. Lin Feng said, shameless to the extreme. The beautiful woman cursed angrily. At the same time, a ball of golden light surged out from the jade talisman. The fluctuations of the golden light were extremely terrifying. That ball of golden light directly sent Lin Feng flying. Fortunately, Lin Feng wasn't injured. I'll remember you. The beautiful woman looked deeply at Lin Feng's eyes, and then rushed outside, and then she disappeared into the darkness. This was the city lord's mansion. Lin Feng wasn't familiar with them. Thus, he didn't chase. Among the people in the city lord's mansion, it seems that only the people on Feng Wushu's side are hostile to me. Right? Could it be that the woman just now was from Feng Wushu's side? That's possible. I wonder how she is related to Feng Wushu. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. In fact, tonight's situation had been very dangerous because that woman was a Tao immortal expert. Fortunately, Lin Feng was strong and had a supreme treasure to protect himself. Otherwise, he would have been in danger. Don't let me see you again. Otherwise, I'll definitely catch you. See how I'll deal with you then. Lin Feng couldn't help but say fiercely. Then he returned to his room to rest. After midnight, he slept very soundly. The next day, Fang Yuan came to Lin Feng's room. Fang Yuan smiled and asked, How was your rest? Lin Feng didn't tell her about the woman. He smiled and said, I rested quite well. Thank you for your concern. Fang Yuan then said, I've already contacted an elder, and that elder accepted my gift and agreed to help me bring that person out. Is he reliable? Lin Feng asked. That elder is one of the great elder's subordinates, Fang Yuan said. Fairy, you're quite capable. Lin Feng said, the world is bustling, and everyone comes for benefits. That's a very reasonable saying. It's applicable at all times. Fang Yuan said. Lin Feng smiled and said, indeed. Fang Yuan said, we just have to wait for a while. I'm sure young master's friend will be out soon. Thank you for your help, Fairy. However, how should I repay your kindness? Lin Feng looked at Fang Yuan and said, after interacting with her for a while, Lin Feng felt that Fang Yuan was indeed a good person and was worth befriending. Fang Yuan blinked and said, last night, someone sent me a letter saying that the geniuses of the Forgotten City were having a gathering. They wanted me to bring you along and introduce you to everyone. Said Lin Feng. It's a trap, said Lin Feng. Fang Yuan said, I can reject them. Lin Feng said, why would you reject them? I'm your man now, so how could I embarrass you? Lin Feng said as he wrapped his arm around Fang Yuan's waist and pulled her into his embrace. Fang Yuan's face instantly became rosy. She didn't know what to do and didn't know why Lin Feng was doing this. However, she didn't reject him. Not bad, not bad. Couples should be like this. So when the time comes, I might have some contact with you because I have no other choice. When the time comes, I hope you won't reject me. Lin Feng smiled and said, as he let go of Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan felt a bit disappointed. Lin Feng's sudden attack just now had made her feel like she was in love with him. Fang Yuan thought that Lin Feng was interested in her, but that wasn't the case at all. Fang Yuan didn't show her disappointment. She said, when the time comes, I'll cooperate with young master and won't expose myself. That's good. Lin Feng nodded. I still have some things to take care of, so I'll take my leave first. Fang Yuan said. All right. Lin Feng nodded. Then he sent Fang Yuan out. After walking out of the courtyard, Fang Yuan took a deep breath. She reached out to touch her face and found that it was a bit hot. Maybe I can go one step further and turn the fake into the real. Fang Yuan couldn't help but mutter to herself. The corners of her mouth curled into a smile. Then she walked briskly into the distance with her long legs. Before attending the gathering, Fang Yuan specially dressed up and came to Lin Feng's place. Previously, Fang Yuan had been wearing a short-sleeved shirt and a short skirt made of animal skin. She was as seductive as she could be, but this time, Fang Yuan had changed her clothes. Of course, her dressing style was different from the fairies in the outside world. Fang Yuan did not like to wear long dresses, so this time, Fang Yuan wore a black short-sleeved shirt, revealing her slender waist. As for her lower body, she wore a pair of black leather pants. It was unknown what material they were made of. Lin Feng hadn't seen this kind of dressing style before, but after seeing Fang Yuan dressed like this, Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and his heart seemed to speed up. Fang Yuan's dressing, coupled with her height, completely displayed the advantages of her height and long legs. Her figure was really too good. In addition, Fang Yuan was born extremely beautiful, and her face was as beautiful as a fairy's. Chapter 5037. The location of the gathering was the largest restaurant in the Forgotten City. This restaurant was called the Moon Goddess Restaurant. The reason why it was called the Moon Goddess Restaurant was because it was said that on the 15th day of the 8th lunar month, one would be able to see fairies dancing on the moon from the top of the restaurant. It sounded a little unbelievable, but it was all true. This was the origin of the Moon Goddess Restaurant. The Moon Goddess Restaurant was shrouded in mystery. A long time had passed, and the Moon Goddess Restaurant had existed until now. In reality, there were crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the Forgotten City. Other than the 5 major forces, there were also some mysterious experts. They might be very low-key, but no one dared to underestimate their cultivation. For example, the current restaurant master of the Moon Goddess restaurant was said to be an extremely terrifying existence. Therefore, no one dared to cause trouble in the Moon Goddess restaurant. Even the direct descendants of the 5 major forces didn't dare to cause trouble in the Moon Goddess restaurant. Lin Feng and Fang Yuan rode a beast carriage to the Moon Goddess restaurant. Although this was a banquet at Hongmen, it was nothing to Lin Feng. In fact, not to mention the Forgotten City, even in the entire Undying Realm, there weren't many people who could threaten Lin Feng. There were basically only 2 kinds of people who could threaten him. The first kind was the Golden Immortal Realm experts, and the second kind was the Saint Immortal Realm experts, cultivators of other realms. Even those of the Tao Immortal Realm couldn't threaten Lin Feng's life. Only those extremely heaven-defying cultivators who had broken through to the virtual Immortal Realm or the Tao Immortal Realm could threaten Lin Feng. However, such cultivators were rare. The young geniuses of the Forgotten City were all gathered here. The Moon Immortal Tower became extremely lively as all sorts of beast-drawn carriages and mounts galloped towards the Moon Immortal Tower. Many people gathered outside the Moon Immortal Tower to watch the show. Such a large-scale gathering was rare even in the Forgotten City. The main reason was that no one was able to gather all these geniuses. However, today's gathering was a bit different because everyone wanted to see what kind of person was able to obtain their goddess, Fang Yuan. As the number 1 beauty of the Forgotten City, Fang Yuan had countless suitors. Even though many of them were rejected by Fang Yuan, they still regarded her as their goddess in their hearts. Now that they heard that their goddess had become the woman of a foreign cultivator, these prodigies naturally had mixed feelings in their hearts and felt very uncomfortable. Some of them were unwilling to accept this, and even wanted to find an opportunity to teach Lin Feng a lesson. After Lin Feng and Fang Yuan got down from the beast carriage, they immediately attracted the attention of many people. Look, they're here. Some cultivators pointed at Lin Feng and Fang Yuan. Is that guy the foreign cultivator who won the beauty's heart? No wonder Fang Yuan fell in love with him. That brat is so fair and handsome. One look, and you can tell that he's a gigolo. This kind of gigolo is very good at coaxing girls, so it's understandable that Fang Yuan fell in love with him. At that moment, a cultivator said in a jealous tone, "That guy is indeed a gigolo. However, it's not necessarily true that he's a gigolo. Earlier, he easily defeated the 10 cultivators who surrounded him. In the battle with Fang Yuan, he even gained a slight advantage. His cultivation must be extremely terrifying." At that moment, a cultivator said. Someone else said, "Didn't you say that he used a powerful magical treasure to be able to do that? If you're not strong enough, even if you have a magical treasure, you won't be able to release its full power. You need to be strong enough to forge iron. This is a principle that has never changed." The cultivator who spoke before said. The others nodded. That was indeed the case. Lin Feng and Fang Yuan ignored the discussions of the cultivators around them and walked toward the Moon Immortal Tower. The Moon Immortal Tower was divided into 5 floors. The first floor was the main hall, the second floor was the ordinary private rooms, the third floor was the VIP private rooms, the fourth floor was the top-notch private rooms, and the fifth floor was the supreme private rooms. There were many private rooms on the second, third, and fourth floors. However, there was only one private room on the 5th floor. The word supreme meant that it was the most supreme. Therefore, there was naturally only one supreme private room. There was also a strict hierarchy in which level these prodigious young masters would gather. For example, The geniuses gathered in the main hall on the first floor were all from small clans. The higher the floor, the more prestigious their status was. Of course, if one's cultivation was strong enough to make those top forces pay attention to them, even if one was from a small clan, they would still have the opportunity to enter the supreme private rooms on the highest floor. To put it bluntly, the world of cultivators was a world where one's background was very important. However, the most important thing was still one's strength. After Lin Feng and Fang Yuan entered the Moon Immortal Tower, the main hall on the first floor, which was originally full of people, suddenly quieted down. Many people looked at Lin Feng and Fang Yuan. When everyone saw Fang Yuan's outfit today, their eyes instantly widened. Fang Yuan's legs were long, slender, and straight. Now that she was wearing these leather pants, her long legs were perfectly displayed. She gave off a sexy and enchanting feeling. Many people's hearts instantly burned with a ball of fire. When he saw Lin Feng holding Fang Yuan's slim waist, he was stunned. Many people's eyes were spitting fire. Those were the flames of jealousy. Everyone wished that they could replace Lin Feng. Lin Feng hugged Fang Yuan tightly in his arms and looked at the so-called geniuses around him as if he was demonstrating his power. After seeing Lin Feng's actions, many people wanted to chop Lin Feng into pieces. Our goddess was actually snatched away by you. Even if we killed you 1,000 times, it wouldn't be enough to make up for it. Fang Yuan was also very cooperative with Lin Feng. She snuggled into Lin Feng's arms like a little bird, making many people's hearts bleed. Lin Feng hugged Fang Yuan and arrived at the supreme private room under the envious and jealous gazes of countless people. When he and Fang Yuan arrived at the supreme private room, there were already dozens of cultivators gathered there. These cultivators were not simple people. Basically, they were all from the big clans of the Forgotten City. Although there were a few people who were not from the big clans of the Forgotten City, those cultivators still possessed some extremely terrifying methods and were very powerful. Therefore, they were qualified to enter the supreme private room. Chapter 5038. It was no wonder that those cultivators would reveal such an expression. It was mainly because Fang Yuan's outfit today was too sexy and enchanting. Even though Lin Feng had seen all kinds of beauties. However, when he first saw Fang Yuan dressed like this, he was still stunned. Lin Feng was already like this. What about the others? It was normal for him to be smitten by Fang Yuan. If it was as if nothing had happened, that would be strange. However, very quickly, those people's eyes spat out flames. That was because they saw a large hand placed on Fang Yuan's small waist, the goddess in their hearts. She was snuggling in the arms of a man, being hugged by that man. This scene made them so jealous that they wanted to vomit blood. Keep the goodies within the family. Even if Fang Yuan wanted to find a man, shouldn't he be looking for a man from Forgotten City? How could he get a man from outside to get Fang Yuan in his hands? So, now, Lin Feng had basically become the public enemy of all the young geniuses of Forgotten City. Fang Wushu was also hiding in the crowd, his pair of cold eyes looking coldly at Lin Feng. If eyes could kill, Lin Feng would have already been cut into pieces by Fang Wushu's gaze. Little Sister Yuan, sit here. A female cultivator stood up and waved at Fang Yuan. The female cultivator looked to be about the same age as Fang Yuan. She wasn't short either, about 7 meters tall. The woman was 7 meters tall, so she was naturally quite tall. She was about the same height as a man, who was about 85 meters tall. The woman's figure was very voluptuous. Although her appearance couldn't compare to Fang Yuan's, she was still quite beautiful and attracted the attention of many people. She took the initiative to invite Fang Yuan over, so she probably had a good relationship with Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan grabbed Lin Feng's hand and walked towards the woman. Arriving at the woman's side, Fang Yuan said, "Let me introduce you. This big sister is called Yuan Shuiqing. She is a very good sister of mine. This is my lover. His name is Ji. Nice to meet you." Lin Feng cupped his fists and said, "You're being too polite, Prince. I've heard that you're handsome, but now that I've met you, I realize that you're so handsome. No wonder you could steal the heart of our beautiful Yuan." Said Lin Feng. Yuan Shuiqing smiled and said. Lin Feng smiled in response. The other people's faces were a bit unsightly. Those young masters could not help but angrily curse Yuan Shuiqing for siding with outsiders. Wasn't this pushing Fang Yuan to an outsider? Of course, Yuan Shuiqing wasn't a simple person. Even though they were very dissatisfied with Yuan Shuiqing's words, many people didn't dare to criticize Yuan Shuiqing face to face. "Let's take a seat," Fang Yuan said. "Good. Quickly sit down," Yuan Shuiqing said with a smile. The three of them sat down together. "Big Sister Yuan, is this young master your lover?" "Sister Yuan, hurry up and introduce us," a girl who looked to be about 16 or 17 years old said. That girl was indeed young, only 17 years old. Fang Yuan said, "I'm sure everyone has heard about us. His name is Ji, and we didn't know each other until we fought. After the fight, we both felt like we had met someone who understood us, so we fell in love." Wow, what a beautiful love story. So two enemies can resolve their grudges because of love and then walk together. The girl immediately exclaimed in surprise. That brat's background is suspicious. Perhaps only he knows if he has any ulterior motives, someone said with a sneer. Many people became spirited, and some people started to make trouble. This was a hongmen banquet. Therefore, it was normal for people to make trouble, and Lin Feng was already mentally prepared. Lin Feng smiled faintly and said, "This world isn't as dark as you say it is. One must always be on guard against others." The cultivator continued to sneer. The cultivator who spoke was called Zhou Yu. He was an expert from the Zhou family of the 5 great clans and was very powerful. Moreover, he was one of Fang Yuan's most powerful suitors. Lin Feng said, "If one's heart is dark, then everything will be dark." "Brat, what did you say?" Zhou Yu's expression immediately became ugly. He stood up and looked at Lin Feng indifferently. It seemed like he wanted to attack. "You should be more open-minded. Only then will you be happy," Lin Feng said. "How dare you mock me?" Zhou Yu's eyes were extremely gloomy. "I'm not mocking you, sir. I'm just giving you some advice. If you're more open-minded, you won't have a demonic barrier when you cultivate in the future. If your heart is too dark, it's easy to have a demonic barrier." Lin Feng said indifferently, "How dare you curse me? Are you courting death?" Zhou Yu said with a gloomy expression, "It's bad for the body to be angry. Why are you so angry? We're just casually talking. There's no need to be hostile." Lin Feng said calmly, "What? Are you scared now?" Zhou Yu looked at Lin Feng mockingly. Obviously, Zhou Yu thought that Lin Feng was scared, so he didn't dare to confront him directly. However, Zhou Yu didn't want to give up so easily. He wanted to humiliate Lin Feng. He wanted to let Fang Yuan know Lin Feng was far from being comparable to Zhou Yu. Maybe he would be able to win the heart of the beauty. Lin Feng said, "I'm not scared. I just don't want to continue arguing with you. In my opinion, this is unnecessary, and it's not why I'm here. I just want to tell you that Fang Yuan is my woman. In the future, you can give up and stop having any ideas about her." Hearing Lin Feng's domineering declaration, Fang Yuan's heart was filled with sweetness. However, when she thought about how she and Lin Feng weren't really a couple, she felt a little disappointed. If only they were real, how great would that be? "Brat, have you asked us about this?" Zhou Yu sneered. Lin Feng was speechless. Do I need to ask for your opinion about the matter between Fang Yuan and me? Who do you think you are? What a joke. You dare to make fun of me? You don't know what's good for you. If it wasn't for Fang Yuan, I would have already trampled you under my feet. Zhou Yu looked at Lin Feng indifferently. His words were filled with contempt and disdain for Lin Feng. Lin Feng shook his head and said, "The ignorant are fearless. Since you're so self-righteous, come out and fight with me. Let's see if I can trample you under my feet." Zhou Yu continued to provoke Lin Feng. "I refuse," Lin Feng said. After hearing Lin Feng's words, the crowd went into an uproar. Lin Feng had actually refused Zhou Yu's challenge. Chapter 5039. Zhang Zichen said, "This brat is a complete coward. He definitely won't accept the challenge. I've already tested him before." Everyone looked at Zhang Zichen, and many people began to talk in private. Some people had heard that when Lin Feng had first entered the Forgotten City, Zhang Zichen had provoked Lin Feng. Some people hadn't heard about it, but after some discussion, they all knew that this brat had been provoked by Zhang Zichen. Previously, everyone had thought that Lin Feng was a coward, so he didn't dare to accept the challenge. Now, they could confirm this point. Therefore, they couldn't help but look at Lin Feng with disdain. Even Yun Shuiqing, who was standing beside Fang Yuan, had a puzzled expression. If Lin Feng was really such a coward, then how did Fang Yuan fall for Lin Feng? Could it be that it was true that Lin Feng had used flowery words to coax Fang Yuan? In addition, Lin Feng was indeed quite handsome. If he could talk, then it would be easy for him to win the hearts of girls. This was something that was worthy of affirmation. "Fang Yuan, did you see that? This brat's true colors are quite despicable. This kind of person isn't worth trusting," Zhou Yu said. Said Zhou Yu. He wanted to attack Lin Feng even more. Fang Yuan said, "What does it have to do with you who I like?" Hearing Fang Yuan's words, Zhou Yu's face turned ashen with anger. Lin Feng said, "Why do you all want to interfere with other people's relationships? Everyone is an individual, and no one has the right to interfere with other people's relationships. Therefore, I hope that everyone can understand this. Brat, we just don't want to see a piece of trash like you delay Fang Yuan." Zhang Zichen sneered. "Yeah, a coward like you isn't worthy of Fang Yuan. You should withdraw as soon as possible so that you don't humiliate yourself." One cultivator after another sneered. They were all targeting Lin Feng, but Lin Feng was unmoved. Fang Wushu, who was hiding in the crowd, sneered when he saw this scene. This gathering was organized by Fang Wushu after he found Zhang Zichen and the other prodigies. Their goal was to target Lin Feng. Fang Wushu hated Lin Feng and Fang Yuan to the bone. Now, he had no way to deal with Fang Yuan, but he had a way to deal with Lin Feng. If he could kill Lin Feng, it would be a huge blow to Fang Yuan's reputation. Therefore, Fang Wushu was very enthusiastic about this matter, and the result was developing in the direction Fang Wushu expected. Even if a person was a coward, he still wanted to save face, right? Therefore, Fang Wushu felt that after being humiliated by so many people, Lin Feng would definitely fight back. As long as Lin Feng dared to fight back, Lin Feng would be miserable. Fang Wushu was waiting for Lin Feng to fight back. Thinking about how Lin Feng would be humiliated by the top geniuses of the Forgotten City, Fang Wushu was so excited that his whole body trembled. Some people only have one mouth. They talk about how powerful they are all day long, but when they really fight, they discover that they are just trash. I have seen such people when I was young, but I haven't seen such trash for many years. I didn't expect to see so many of them here today. Lin Yun said. Lin Yun's eyes were filled with a cold light as he looked at Lin Yun. Lin Feng said indifferently, "Boy, who are you calling a waste? A group of cultivators who were targeting Lin Feng were stunned, and then looked at Lin Feng angrily. Before, they had humiliated Lin Feng and said all kinds of unpleasant things, including that Lin Feng was a waste, but now Lin Feng dared to call them waste. In these people's eyes, it was natural for them to mock Lin Feng as a waste and a coward because they had the advantage in numbers. How could Lin Feng dare to resist? If he dared to resist, they would be able to deal with Lin Feng in any way they wanted. If Lin Feng didn't dare to resist, he should just silently endure the humiliation. But what did Lin Feng do? He actually dared to call them trash. This was a group ridicule. The so-called group ridicule meant to ridicule a group of people. One person ridiculing a group of people, he was really bold. I said that you are all waste. Can't you understand such simple words? Lin Feng looked very speechless. Shock, emotion, disbelief, anger, killing intent, monstrous anger, all kinds of emotions, all kinds of expressions appeared on the cultivators' faces. Feng Wushu, on the other hand, looked extremely excited. Feng Wushu found that the development of the situation was exactly as he had expected. Sure enough, Lin Feng couldn't hold back the anger in his heart and started to resist. The only thing that was different from Feng Wushu's guess was that Feng Wushu thought that Lin Feng would only mock a few people. However, the reality was that Lin Feng had turned on the group ridicule mode. Could it be that he was so angry that he had completely lost his mind and turned on the group ridicule mode? The group ridicule mode was good. The group ridicule mode was completely a way to catch someone dead. Now, Feng Wushu couldn't wait to see Lin Feng being humiliated by a group of people. Yuan Shuiqing, who was beside Feng Yuan, frowned slightly. Lin Feng had finally started to fight back, but his counterattack had offended a group of people. This was bad luck. Could it be that he wanted to use Feng Yuan's reputation to go against these people? If Feng Yuan stepped forward and protected Lin Feng, in Yuan Shuiqing's opinion, they might not be able to do anything to Lin Feng. Yuan Shuiqing also thought that way. He felt that Lin Feng would definitely ask Feng Yuan for help. He didn't have the ability, but he wanted to offend so many people and then beg his woman for mercy. Now, Yuan Shuiqing looked at Lin Feng with a trace of disdain. Boy, you dare to humiliate me? Eat my fist. At that moment, a cultivator stood up and walked towards Lin Feng. That cultivator was called Sun Dongqing. He was a direct descendant of the Sun family of one of the 5 major factions. His cultivation was extraordinary. Among the young cultivators of Forgotten City, he could at least be ranked in the top 20. Such a person could naturally be called a top genius. Sun Dongqing punched towards Lin Feng. That terrifying punch contained a terrifying power that could destroy heaven and earth. Everyone looked at Lin Feng with contempt. In their opinion, Lin Feng naturally couldn't resist Sun Dongqing's punch. Piss off. Lin Feng looked coldly at Sun Dongqing. He waved his sleeve. An invisible force surged out. Bang! That invisible force fiercely bombarded Sun Dongqing's body. Sun Dongqing. It was as if he had been struck by lightning. His body flew backwards. Wow. Chapter 5040. Sun Dongqing's body smashed through the door of the Supreme Treasure Box, then broke through the railings of the 5th floor. He fell into the main hall on the 1st floor. His body twitched a few times, then stopped moving. Isn't that Sun Dongqing? Why was he thrown out? Sun Dongqing has 7 or 8 broken bones. He's seriously injured. Who did that? How did he injure Sun Dongqing like that? There must have been a fight upstairs. I wonder what's going on upstairs. Let's go up and take a look. The cultivators below started discussing spiritedly. They quickly rushed up. Inside the Supreme Box, many people looked at each other in dismay. They couldn't believe their eyes. Sun Dongqing. He was one of the top 20 geniuses of the Forgotten City, but he hadn't even been able to resist one of Lin Feng's attacks. That was unbelievable. Even if Zhang Zichen and Zhou Yu were able to defeat Sun Dongqing, they would still need to fight a fierce battle before they could do so. How is that possible? Fang Wushu couldn't believe his eyes. He couldn't believe that Lin Feng was so strong. Before, he had thought that Lin Feng was relying on some magical treasures to be so strong. But even if he relied on magical treasures, it would still be difficult for him to defeat the top geniuses of the Forgotten City. But now, Fang Wushu realized that his previous thoughts were completely wrong. Lin Feng was unimaginably strong. Yuan Shuiqing, who was standing next to Fang Yuan, was also astonished. His pink, sexy lips parted slightly. His face was full of disbelief. Lin Feng, he had actually displayed such a tyrannical combat strength. That was unimaginably terrifying. Yuan Shuiqing finally understood why Lin Feng hadn't wanted to fight before. It wasn't because he didn't dare. It was because he didn't want to fight. These people were indeed not qualified for Lin Feng to make a move. Among all the people present, perhaps only Fang Yuan, who possessed a mutated bloodline, could fight with Lin Feng. Thinking of how his best friend, Fang Yuan, had always been displeased with men, but was now on good terms with Lin Feng, Yuan Shuiqing suddenly thought of another possibility. Could it be that during the battle between Lin Feng and Fang Yuan was defeated? Fang Yuan had once said to her pursuers, "If you can't even defeat me, how dare you pursue me?" From this sentence, it was clear that if he wanted to pursue Fang Yuan, he had to at least have the ability to defeat Fang Yuan. If he did not even have the ability to defeat Fang Yuan and still wanted to pursue Fang Yuan would definitely not agree. Others might not understand how powerful Fang Yuan's combat power was, but as Fang Yuan's best friend, Yuan Shuiqing understood very well. If Lin Feng could really defeat Fang Yuan, then it would be too terrifying. This man, powerful. However, he kept a low profile. However, if others provoked him, he would become like a god or a devil, incomparably domineering. He was really a powerful man shrouded in countless mysterious veils. Even Yuan Shuiqing couldn't help but be curious about Lin Feng. Although Yuan Shuiqing knew that as Fang Yuan's best friend, she shouldn't be curious about Fang Yuan's man, because this was a very dangerous thing to do, and it would be unfair to Fang Yuan. However, Lin Feng's body seemed to have a terrifying magic power. And that magic power, it was attracting Yuan Shuiqing. It made Yuan Shuiqing, this voluptuous and charming beauty, unable to help but want to get in touch and understand Lin Feng. Of course, Lin Feng didn't know what Yuan Shuiqing was thinking, and he didn't notice the various changes in Yuan Shuiqing's expression. Lin Feng originally wanted to keep a low profile. After saving Little Rock King, he directly left. However, these guys in front of him kept jumping around Lin Feng as if they didn't know what was good for them. Lin Feng naturally didn't mind teaching them a lesson. As for Zhang Zichen, Zhou Yu, and the others, their expressions were incomparably ugly, although they thought that they were very strong. However, the scene of Lin Feng heavily injuring Sun Dongqing with a casual strike just now had completely shocked them. It made them not dare to act rashly. The group of people all had extremely bitter expressions on their faces. Now, they were in a difficult situation. I'm a person who hates trouble the most. If I don't bully others, others should be thankful. How dare someone bully me? It's really ridiculous. I was too lazy to care about you guys before, not because I was afraid of you guys. Trash like you guys really can't enter my eyes, and I'm too lazy to care so much about you guys. Now, let me tell you one more thing. Fang Yuan is my woman, so stay away from her in the future. Lin Feng said coldly. The group of people hurriedly nodded, including Zhang Zichen. Zhou Yu also hurriedly nodded. Although they wanted nothing more than to cut Lin Feng into 1,000 pieces and tear him to pieces, Lin Feng's powerful strength deterred them. Now that the situation was pressing, they naturally didn't dare to do anything out of line. As the saying goes, the hunter will shoot the bird that sticks out. This principle was very clear to Zhang Zichen and Zhou Yu. Let's hurry up and leave. Someone whispered. They didn't dare to stay here any longer. They just wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. The cultivators who had targeted Lin Feng naturally had the same idea, so they wanted to leave as soon as possible. The cultivators who had been watching the show before didn't have any intention of leaving. Instead, they watched everything unfold in front of them with great interest. In any case, no matter what happened, they wouldn't be implicated because they were just a group of spectators. Did I say you could leave? Just as the group of people was about to leave, Lin Feng suddenly spoke. Now, Lin Feng's voice was like the voice of a demon. After hearing Lin Feng's voice, the group of people immediately stopped. They wanted to leave as soon as possible, but their legs didn't seem to listen to them. What else do you want? Zhou Yu asked with a gloomy expression. Crawl out. Lin Feng said. What? You want us to crawl out? The group of people's faces were filled with anger. If they crawled out, it would be too humiliating. After all, they were all reputable figures. How could they crawl out? If they crawled out, wouldn't they become a laughingstock in the future? Therefore, this was something they could not accept. Or you could end up like that guy from before and get beaten half to death by me. Lin Feng added. In truth, Lin Feng wanted these people to crawl out because he wanted to destroy their Dao hearts. After Lin Feng left, these people would definitely hate Fang Yuan because of him. Fang Yuan was already having a hard time in the city lord's mansion. If more enemies appeared, the situation would be even worse. These people were all people with outstanding talent. If someone rose up in the future, Fang Yuan would be in trouble. If their Dao heart was broken, they would die. Chapter 5041. As a result, their threat to Fang Yuan had been reduced to the lowest point. Treat the enemy. Don't be merciful. Because when you are merciful to your enemy, you might be laying the groundwork for the tragedy that your family, friends, lovers, and so on might experience. And Lin Feng wanted to completely prevent this kind of tragedy from happening. You've gone too far. Zhang Zichen said coldly. As a top genius of the Forgotten City, he naturally couldn't do what Lin Feng said. This is the Forgotten City. Don't think that we're really afraid of you. Zhou Yu also said coldly. We don't want to attack you together. Otherwise, do you think you can still sit there and talk to us? The third cultivator said. The rest of the people also shouted at the same time. They were all incomparably angry. Lin Feng was simply humiliating them. This kind of humiliation almost drove them crazy. At the same time, it made them incomparably angry. I gave you face, but you didn't want it. Lin Feng said indifferently. His tone was still as calm as ever, as if he was talking about something very ordinary. When the cultivators who came to watch the show saw this scene, they couldn't help but discuss. Lin Feng was really arrogant. He was facing a group of experts alone, and was still so arrogant. This was the first time they had seen such a person. Did he really think that the geniuses of the Forgotten City were undeserving of their reputation? The cultivators of the Forgotten City naturally knew about Zhang Zichen and the others. Of course, they weren't undeserving of their reputation. These people were extremely powerful. For example, Zhang Zichen and Zhou Yu's battle strength were extremely terrifying. They both had the battle strength to fight against virtual immortals. Attack together and destroy this brat, Zhou Yu said in a deep voice. He took the lead and rushed towards Lin Feng. Among the rest of the people, a dozen or so cultivators rushed towards Lin Feng. The rest didn't move. They were quietly watching the situation. If the situation was better than expected, they would make a move. If Lin Feng was too difficult to deal with, they didn't plan to make a move. Even ants drag out their lives, but you guys actually took the initiative to court death. Could it be that you're not as smart as ants? Lin Feng said indifferently. After hearing Lin Feng's words, many people couldn't help but smile bitterly. In Lin Feng's eyes, Zhou Yu and the others were actually worse than ants. He really didn't put Zhou Yu and the others in his eyes. No matter what, Zhou Yu and the others were a group of top geniuses. Many people thought that Lin Feng was going to pay for his arrogance. In their eyes, Lin Feng was indeed very strong. However, he was still far from being strong enough to ignore the siege of a group of top-notch geniuses. At that moment, Lin Feng was really ignoring those young geniuses. His words were full of disdain and contempt. As the saying goes, even a lion needs to go all out to catch a rabbit. Not to mention dealing with this group of geniuses. Brat, you're too arrogant. Zhou Yu's expression was indifferent. His eyes flashed with killing intent. His terrifying palm shot towards Lin Feng. Just as the palm was about to hit Lin Feng made his move. Lin Feng still raised his right hand. He suddenly waved his sleeve. An invisible force surged out. Bang! Following the violent collision, everyone saw that Zhou Yu was sent flying by an invisible force. In midair, he spat out a mouthful of blood. As for the others, they were also sent flying by the terrifying invisible force. Their faces were pale. Thump, thump, thump. The group of people all fell to the ground. Their bodies twitched violently. Then, they stopped moving completely. The sound of people inhaling cold air could be heard. Lin Feng's attack had shocked them far more than when Lin Feng had injured Sun Dongqing. Although Sun Dongqing was strong, she was only one person. Lin Feng had just made a move, but he had already sent a group of people, including Zhou Yu, flying. That was the fundamental difference. Lin Feng was much stronger than they had imagined. Why is it like this? Why is it like this? Why is he so strong? Feng Wushu's eyes were filled with madness. At that moment, Feng Wushu was filled with jealousy towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's strength had ignited the fire of jealousy in his heart. Feng Wushu wanted to be as strong as Lin Feng. However, he couldn't do that. Now that his body had been destroyed, he needed to reverse the heavenly tribulation to return. When he returned from the reincarnation tribulation, his talent would most likely decline significantly. His future was bleak. When he thought of how strong Lin Feng was, Feng Wushu became even more jealous of Lin Feng. What an amazing man! You're so handsome, young master. I wonder if I'll have a chance to get to know him. I really want to talk to him about romance. Even if it's just a brief relationship, I'm willing. Some of the female cultivators who were watching the show whispered to each other. Lin Feng was like a deadly poison that attracted their attention. Although they knew about Lin Feng's relationship with Feng Yuan, they still had many ideas about Lin Feng. After all, how could there be a cat that didn't want to steal fish? Those female cultivators were quite good at dealing with men. Therefore, some of the female cultivators started having some dirty thoughts. What about you? What's your choice? Lin Feng looked at Zhang Zichen and the others. Their expressions were as unsightly as they could be. They were all filled with hatred. However, Lin Feng's methods were really terrifying. They didn't dare resist Lin Feng. I'll crawl out. I'll crawl out. Finally, one of the cultivators couldn't hold on under Lin Feng's powerful pressure and immediately shouted. Then he knelt on the ground with a thump. Then he crawled out. If there was one, there would be two. Then the second cultivator also knelt on the ground and crawled out. If there were two, there would be three. One cultivator after another knelt on the ground and crawled out. Seeing such a scene, everyone had a shocked expression. They were a group of top geniuses. Now, they were forced to this extent. What about you? Lin Feng looked at Zhang Zichen, and a cold smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. That guy was the first one who had dared to provoke him. Zhang Zichen also saw Lin Feng's cold smile. His heart trembled. Zhang Zichen knew that Lin Feng wanted to kill him. Zhang Zichen didn't dare hesitate and quickly knelt on the ground. He said, "I choose to crawl out as well." As soon as he finished speaking, Chapter 5042. Zhang Zichen is one of the top 10 or even top 5 geniuses, but he's crawling out on his knees. Seeing Zhang Zichen crawling out, some of the cultivators there exclaimed. However, there was a hint of schadenfreude in their voices. There might not be any enmity between these cultivators, but it was naturally quite a joyous thing to see others suffer. There were few people in the world who would help others in times of need, but there were many who would hit someone when they were down. Zhang Zichen's choice isn't strange. After all, Zhou Yu, who's as famous as him, couldn't even take a single move from that young noble. Zhang Zichen was the first to provoke that young noble. He was lucky that the young noble didn't make a move before, but now that the young noble has made a move, Zhang Zichen, as the first to provoke him, won't have a good ending if he dares to resist. Thus, Zhang Zichen's choice is the best one. A cultivator continued, "I'm afraid this will affect his Tao heart in the future." Another cultivator said, "If one's willpower is strong enough, they'll be able to dispel the negative effects." Moreover, crawling out on their knees is much better than those cultivators who were thrown out. I observed those cultivators just now. Their injuries aren't light, and they seem to have damaged their Tao essences. Those are very difficult to heal. I'm afraid their cultivation careers are over. Another cultivator said. Zhang Zichen naturally heard the discussions. At this moment, he lowered his head, and his eyes were bloodshot. His heart was filled with hatred. He wanted to eat Lin Feng's flesh and drink Lin Feng's blood. But now, the most important thing was to get out of this predicament. After that, it wouldn't be too late to think of a way to deal with Lin Feng. Zhang Zichen was a person who knew how to endure. If he didn't know how to endure. When Zhou Yu attacked, just now, Zhang Zichen and Zhou Yu attacked Lin Feng together, but Zhang Zichen didn't do so. This was enough to explain a lot of things. In the end, Zhang Zichen and the other group crawled out. They didn't stay and quickly left. At this moment, Fang Wushu also needed to escape. In fact, Lin Feng had already seen Fang Wushu. Lin Feng guessed. Today's Hongmen banquet was related to Fang Wushu. Seeing that Fang Wushu wanted to sneak away secretly, Lin Feng's mouth revealed a faint smile. "Brother-in-law, you're here too. I didn't see you just now. I'm really sorry." Lin Feng said with a smile, "Damn, you're even calling him brother-in-law. Could it be that Fang Yuan has already become someone's wife?" After hearing Lin Feng call Fang Wushu, many people wailed in their hearts. They felt as if their hearts were bleeding. Their goddess. Just like that, she became a married woman. They couldn't accept this fact. But what could they couldn't accept of it? Of the love together offs doing something? That was their freedom. Was there her of a s in she of her she's of s-a s's of her of her. But when she the she's of the she s of love, she would also show her gentleness and shyness. Just like how Fang Yuan was acting now, many people saw Fang Yuan's blushing face and knew that Fang Yuan had completely fallen in love. Others didn't seem to have any chance. Yuan Shuiqing, who was at the side, suddenly felt jealous of Fang Yuan. It was true that she was Fang Yuan's best friend. Best friends, to put it nicely, were good sisters. This made sense. But best friends often competed with each other. For example, comparing looks, figure, family background, men, etc. Although Yuan Shuiqing's family background wasn't as good as Fang Yuan's, her family background wasn't bad either. Her grandfather was one of the 4 vice city lords of Forgotten City. In terms of figure, she and Fang Yuan weren't of the same type of beauty. Yuan Shuiqing was naturally very confident in her figure, compared to face. Fang Yuan was indeed beautiful, but she, Yuan Shuiqing, was also very pretty. Her cultivation might be a bit worse than Fang Yuan, but Yuan Shuiqing's cultivation was actually very strong. However, Yuan Shuiqing felt that she was gentler than Fang Yuan. This kind of personality seemed to be more likable to men. Therefore, Yuan Shuiqing didn't think that she was worse than Fang Yuan. Having confidence was naturally a better thing. And Yuan Shuiqing, she was a woman who was rather confident. But why? Why couldn't she meet a man like Lin Feng? This was where Yuan Shuiqing was jealous of Fang Yuan. Fang Wushu's face couldn't help but reveal a bitter smile. He wanted to sneak away, but now he couldn't do it. Although he hated Lin Feng very much, Fang Wushu didn't dare to show his thoughts now. He tried to make himself look more natural. However, when facing Lin Feng, he still couldn't control his body. His legs were trembling slightly. Fang Wushu had lost his body, and the ins and outs of this matter had also spread out in the Forgotten City. Many people knew that Fang Wushu losing his physical body seemed to be Lin Feng's doing. And everyone also knew that the relationship between Fang Wushu and Fang Yuan was extremely bad. There was no sibling relationship at all. There was only hostility and hatred. As Fang Yuan's man, Lin Feng calling himself Fang Wushu was somewhat thought-provoking. Fang Wushu came to Lin Feng's side and asked, "Why did you stop me?" Lin Feng stood up and patted Fang Wushu's shoulder, then said in surprise, "I've heard that brother-in-law's soul techniques are extraordinary. Now that I've seen it for myself, it's really amazing. Brother-in-law's body is just like a real body." Fang Wushu took a step back and looked at Lin Feng vigilantly. Lin Feng said, "Actually, it's nothing. I just wanted to tell brother-in-law that since you've lost your physical body, you should go back and properly recuperate. Don't wander around outside. It's not good for your soul source." "I understand. I'll go back now," Fang Wushu said, then left as if he was escaping. Fang Yuan frowned slightly, then a pensive look appeared on her face. That was because she felt that when Lin Feng had patted Fang Wushu's shoulder, there was something strange about it. Lin Feng seemed to have done something to Fang Wushu's body. However, Fang Yuan couldn't tell what exactly Lin Feng had done. "Young friend, I wonder if you can come over for a chat." At that moment, a voice rang out in Lin Feng's mind. Lin Feng saw that everyone else's expressions were normal. It seemed that they hadn't noticed that this person was transmitting a message to him through divine sense. What an amazing method. Chapter 5043. Someone's looking for me. I'll go. Lin Feng looked at Fang Yuan and said. Fang Yuan's heart skipped a beat. Who could be looking for Lin Feng at this time? Could it be the Tower Master of the Moon Immortal Tower? After thinking about it carefully, this was indeed a possibility. The Tower Master basically lived in seclusion in the Moon Immortal Tower. Now that such a huge commotion had occurred, it was normal for the Tower Master to know about it. Therefore, the person looking for Lin Feng was most likely the Tower Master. All right, be careful. Fang Yuan reminded him. Private fights were not allowed in the Moon Immortal Tower. Lin Feng had a private fight with Shou Yu and the others earlier, so Fong Yuan was worried that the Tower Master would harm Lin Feng. However, after thinking about it carefully, this worry seemed unnecessary. Lin Feng was so powerful. If the Tower Master wanted to make a move, she would have to consider many things. Now that she had invited Lin Feng over, she probably wanted to discuss something. Sometimes, the rules of this world were made for the weak. They were not made for the strong. Some rules were naturally not suitable for the strong. Lin Feng left. Fong Yuan waited in the private room for Lin Feng to return. Then we'll take our leave first. Some of the geniuses said. Fong Yuan nodded and said, "Take care, everyone." The others left one after another. The cultivators who were watching the commotion also left. Only Fong Yuan and Yuan Shuiqing were left. "Sister Yuan, you should go back and rest too," Fong Yuan said. Yuan Shuiqing said, "I'm not tired. You'll be lonely if you stay here alone. We can take this opportunity to have a good chat." Actually, Yuan Shuiqing did not mean what she said. Yuan Shuiqing did not stay because she wanted to chat with Fong Yuan. She also did not want to accompany Fong Yuan. Instead, she wanted to wait for Lin Feng to return so that she could get closer to Lin Feng. Yuan Shuiqing naturally would not tell Fong Yuan about this. At the very least, she would not tell her now. Lin Feng followed the other party's instructions and arrived outside a room. Then Lin Feng knocked on the door. "Come in." A voice could be heard. This voice sounded a little old. It was none other than the cultivator who had sent a voice transmission to Lin Feng earlier. Lin Feng opened the door and entered the room. He then closed the door behind him. Lin Feng discovered that there were actually 4 cultivators sitting here. The person in the middle was an old man wearing a Taoist robe. Was he a Taoist? It was not easy to tell because some cultivators liked to wear Taoist robes even though they were not Taoist priests. It was not because they wanted to pretend to be Taoist priests. The main reason was that Taoist robes were looser and more comfortable to wear. Lin Feng guessed that the old man in the Taoist robe should be the Moon Immortal Tower's Tower Master. In fact, the Moon Immortal Tower's Pavilion Master had already changed hands many times. The first Pavilion Master was said to be a woman. Many people said that the woman was a fairy who fell from the moon to the mortal world. This was the origin of the Moon Immortal Pavilion's name. Later on, the Moon Immortal Tower had changed hands many times. However, the name had been passed down. No one had casually changed the name of the Moon Immortal Tower. Perhaps it was a form of respect for the Moon Immortal Tower. Apart from the Moon Immortal Tower's Pavilion Master, the other 3 people were not simple people either. The cultivator on the left was a skinny old man. He was so thin that he was only skin and bones. His eye sockets were sunken, and it was unknown how long he had lived. He looked like an old ghost who had crawled out of hell and gave off a sinister and terrifying feeling. One of the 2 people sitting on the left was a middle-aged cultivator with a square face. He looked rather dignified. The other person was a middle-aged woman who looked to be in her 40s. From the looks of it, this middle-aged woman must have been quite beautiful when she was young. Even now, she was still very attractive. The cultivation levels of these 3 people were also unfathomable. Lin Feng could not help but feel slightly moved. He felt that these people were very likely to be experts with a strong foundation. This was because even though they were strong, there seemed to be an aura of old age in their bodies. This was a special characteristic of experts with a strong foundation. The aura of old age was actually a rather strange energy. This strange energy would cause a cultivator's lifespan to flow at an extremely fast speed. If they wanted to resolve this situation, they would have to defy the heavens and change their fate. However, this was not an easy task. Therefore, Experts of this level often like to search for powerful fortuitous opportunities everywhere. This was because they had to constantly break through their own shackles in order to successfully defy the heavens and change their fate. Young friend, you have such skills at such a young age. If I'm not wrong, you should be the sinner's blood emperor of the human race, Lin Feng, right? The old man in Taoist robes cupped his fists and said. Lin Feng was surprised. He hadn't thought the old man would be able to guess who he was. This old man was rather meticulous. He was actually able to deduce Lin Feng's identity from just a few clues. Lin Feng could naturally deny it. However, Lin Feng did not do so. Lin Feng said, "That's right. I am the sinner's blood emperor, Lin Feng. Fellow Taoist, you were able to deduce my identity in such a short amount of time." When they heard Lin Feng admit his identity, their eyes lit up slightly. They had heard of the sinner's blood emperor countless times, but they had never seen him in person. Now, they had finally seen Lin Feng in person. Evidently, Lin Feng seemed to be even more outstanding than the rumors said. The old man in Taoist robes smiled and said, "Fellow Taoist Lin, this old man is the current master of the Moon Immortal Tower. I call myself Taoist Qingshan. This fellow Taoist on my right is a wandering cultivator from the outer seas. People call him Ancestor Withered Sea. The two on my left are Taoist Qian, the master of the Sun Moon Immortal Island in the West Sea, and Taoist Lu Wuchen from the South Pole. Nice to meet you." Lin Feng cupped his fists and said, "Fellow Taoist Lin, you're too polite. We've known you for a long time, but we didn't expect to meet here. It seems like fate is involved in this." "Fairy Qian," he said with a smile. "Fellow Taoist Lin, you're a young hero. You're like the rising sun. In the future, you'll definitely become famous and sweep through the universe. It's indeed an honor to be able to meet you today." Ancestor Withered Sea smiled. Lu Wuchen smiled and said, "Brother Withered Sea is right. It's truly an honor to be able to meet fellow Taoist Lin here." When he heard the three people's compliments, Lin Feng could not help but smile bitterly. These three people were too polite to him. Chapter 5044. What Lin Feng didn't know was that his reputation was already at its peak. In addition, he had a special identity. Many people felt that Lin Feng might inherit his father's role and become the new son of the era, the son of destiny. If that was the case, then Lin Feng would definitely achieve great things in the future. At the end of the era, everyone was naturally worried about survival. If they could befriend Lin Feng, they might be able to rely on their friendship with Lin Feng to survive the Doomsday Battle and live to the next era. There were quite a few people who had such thoughts. However, they lacked an opportunity to befriend Lin Feng. Of course, befriending Lin Feng came with a certain risk because everyone knew that Lin Feng's enemy was Di Wudao, the Celestial Emperor. If they befriended Lin Feng, now they would be going against Di Wudao and the Celestial Emperor. Although Lin Feng had unlimited potential, he hadn't fully matured yet. Therefore, if Lin Feng died at the hands of Di Wudao and the Celestial Emperor, then the cultivators who befriended Lin Feng wouldn't have a good ending. Some people had more things to consider. Although they wanted to befriend Lin Feng, they didn't act because they had more things to consider. However, the four people in front of them were different. For example, Taoist Qingshan. He was a cultivator from the Forgotten City, and the ancient demon desert was located in the ancient demon domain. This was a domain that the heavenly court couldn't control. Moreover, the ancient demon desert was extremely dangerous. Taoist Qingshan naturally didn't have to worry about the Celestial Emperor sending an army to deal with him. As for people like Patriarch Ku Hai and Lu Wuchen, they were all itinerant cultivators, so they had nothing to fear. Although Fairy Qian, he had her own faction. She was from an overseas faction. The Celestial Emperor's faction overseas wasn't very strong. So Fairy Qian, he wasn't worried about the Heavenly Court's revenge. This was also why they dared to befriend Lin Feng. After everyone took their seats, Taoist Qing Shan poured a cup of spirit tea for Lin Feng. He then said, "Fellow Taoist Lin, this spirit tea was brought by Brother Lu from the South Pole. It's very difficult to drink this spirit tea outside. Fellow Taoist Lin, try it." Lin Feng took a sip and felt a lingering fragrance in his mouth. Next, a wave of spiritual energy spread out from his stomach. Then it flowed towards his limbs and bones. This feeling, it was quite comfortable. Good tea. It's really good tea. Lin Feng couldn't help but praise. Lu Wuchen took out a sealed jar and smiled. "I'm glad you like it, Brother Lin. There are some tea leaves in here. You can drink them when you're free. They're good for recovering your spiritual energy and cleansing your body." Lin Feng didn't refuse, but put away the spirit tea. He then smiled and said, "Thank you for the spirit tea, Brother Lu." Lu Wuchen couldn't help but feel happy when he saw Lin Feng accept his spirit tea. He said, "Brother Lin, please don't be polite with me. It's just a mere spirit tea. It's nothing." Lin Feng naturally knew how precious the spirit tea was. However, he didn't say anything else. The reason he accepted the spirit tea wasn't because Lin Feng liked it that much. It was actually because, accepting the spirit tea, it could close the distance between the two sides. These four people, their cultivations were powerful. They could be roped in. They could become allies of the Sin realm. This was for the Sin realm. Naturally, it was a joyous occasion. Most of the time, the method to get closer to the other party was very simple. For example, accepting some gifts from the other party. This way, the two sides could get closer. Lin Feng smiled and asked, "Fellow Taoists, you all seem to be in a good mood to meet here. I'm so envious. If you could have a few friends in your life who you could talk to and get together often, it would be a very exciting thing." Qing Shan said, "We've been friends for a long time, and we went through many things together. Later, we went into seclusion, and for a long time, we were in a state of isolation. Then, the world changed, and we came out of seclusion. After that, we often met up because of our friendship, and also because we gathered together. The more people we had, the stronger we were. We could explore dangerous places and find opportunities." Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. He asked, "Is there something special about this gathering?" Patriarch withered. C continued, "To tell you the truth, we're really here to discuss the search for an opportunity. Would it be convenient for you to tell us about it?" Lin Feng asked curiously. "Of course. About 5 years ago, I found an ancient cultivator's cave in the outer sea world, and I obtained some keepsakes from the ancient cultivator's cave. After carefully studying them, I discovered that the keepsakes were actually related to sacred ancestor Samsara." "Sacred ancestor Samsara? Who's that?" Lin Feng asked curiously. Patriarch Ku Hai explained, "Sacred ancestor Samsara was an extremely powerful person. He was a titled god during the era of titled gods. It's said that titled gods like sacred ancestor Samsara only had 5 generations of inheritances. As for which generation of sacred ancestor Samsara died, it's not clear. However, no matter which generation of sacred ancestor Samsara it was, he must have had an extraordinary inheritance. Furthermore, it's said that sacred ancestor Samsara had an ancient treasure called the Gate of Reincarnation. Opening the Gate of Reincarnation allows one to enter unknown worlds." Enter unknown worlds. Is there such a thing? What kind of unknown worlds can one enter? Lin Feng asked curiously. Patriarch Ku Hai replied, "I'm not sure." Lin Feng rubbed his chin. He couldn't help but think of the reincarnation passage. The reincarnation passage wasn't as simple as a passage. It had probably formed its own unique world long ago. Feng Yaoguang had entered it before. When he had gone to the sky-devouring secret realm, he had tried to find a way to enter the reincarnation passage. However, he hadn't found anything. What if he found the gate of reincarnation? Would he be able to use the gate of reincarnation to enter the reincarnation passage? Lin Feng felt that it might be possible. Have you found the sacred ancestor, Samsara's resting place? Lin Feng asked. He was very interested in the sacred ancestor, Samsara's resting place. Lin Feng wanted to take the risk of entering the reincarnation passage. Lin Feng wanted to find Feng Yaoguang. Lin Feng missed Feng Yaoguang very much. He was also very worried about her safety. There are some clues, but we haven't found anything yet. This time, we gathered to discuss the matter of finding the sacred ancestor, Samsara's resting place. Chapter 5045. When they saw that Lin Feng was asking about sacred ancestor Samsara's death, they couldn't help but feel their hearts skip a beat. They felt that Lin Feng would be interested in the news of sacred ancestor Samsara's death. This made them quite happy. Perhaps they could bring Lin Feng along to explore sacred ancestor Samsara's death. When the time came, they would be able to strengthen their relationship with Lin Feng. Thus Taoist Qingshan said, "Do you have time? If you do, we can explore sacred ancestor Samsara's death together." Lin Feng said, "Of course I have time. Thank you for your invitation, but I've been quite busy recently. There are still some things I need to deal with. I won't be able to find the time in a short period of time." Taoist Qingshan said, "That's not a problem. We still haven't found sacred ancestor Samsara's death, and even if we did find it, it would be an extremely dangerous place. It just so happens that the four of us are planning to continue our search in the ocean world. Once we find it, we'll send someone to Sin Realm to inform you. We've heard that you're proficient in formations, so we'll need your help to break through the restrictions," said Lin Feng. "Of course, it's a small matter. I'll wait for the good news in Sin City then," said Lin Feng. They chatted for a while, and Lin Feng found out that the four of them planned to leave the next day. Lin Feng also told them that he would send them off when they left the next day. Lin Feng then bid them farewell and left. In order not to cause any trouble, Lin Feng didn't ask them to send him off. When he arrived at the guest hall, he found that everyone except Fang Yuan and Yuan Shuiqing had already left. Lin Feng had expected this to happen. When they saw Lin Feng return, Fang Yuan and Yuan Shuiqing stood up. They could guess who had invited Lin Feng, and now that they saw that Lin Feng was fine, they relaxed. "Let's go," Lin Feng said. Fang Yuan and Yuan Shuiqing nodded. After leaving the Moon Goddess Pavilion, Yuan Shuiqing didn't leave. Instead, she followed Lin Feng and Fang Yuan back to the City Lord's mansion. Fang Yuan asked, "Isn't Sister Yuan going home?" Fang Yuan was a straightforward person, so she would ask if she had any doubts. He wouldn't beat around the bush. Yuan Shuiqing indeed did not intend to return. She had made up her mind to interact more with Lin Feng. Naturally, she would not return just like that. On the other hand, Fang Yuan hoped that Yuan Shuiqing would return because she wanted to spend some time alone with Lin Feng. If there was a third wheel like Yuan Shuiqing by his side, he naturally wouldn't be able to be alone with Lin Feng. "Since I have nothing to do, I plan to go to the City Lord's mansion today and have a chat with my little sister," Yuan Shuiqing said. Fang Yuan wailed in her heart, "You're still talking about what's in your heart? Didn't they chat for a long time? What else do you want to talk about?" Fang Yuan wanted to refuse, but Yuan Shuiqing was her best friend. Therefore, it wasn't good for him to directly reject Yuan Shuiqing, so he could only agree. On the way, Yuan Shuiqing would ask Lin Feng some questions from time to time. Moreover, this woman was very interesting. She kept moving closer to Lin Feng. As for the questions that Yuan Shuiqing asked, if he could answer them, Lin Feng tried his best to answer this woman's questions. Lin Feng couldn't help but feel a little strange. He didn't know why Yuan Shuiqing kept looking for topics to chat with him. Of course, Lin Feng didn't think too much about this matter. His thoughts were focused on the place where Saint Ancestor Samsara had fallen that Taoist Qing Shan and the others had mentioned. He didn't know if Taoist Qing Shan and the others would be able to find that place smoothly. Lin Feng naturally hoped that they would be able to find that place. Lin Feng couldn't wait to find Feng Yaorao. However, this kind of thing couldn't be rushed. Lin Feng understood this principle. Food had to be eaten one bite at a time, and things had to be done step by step. One couldn't eat fatso in one bite. He couldn't do these important things in an instant. The next day, Lin Feng went to see the 4 experts off. The 4 experts were very happy that Lin Feng had come to see them off. After chatting for a while, the 4 experts left. Lin Feng didn't stay outside for long. He directly headed in the direction of the city lord's mansion. On the way, he heard many people talking about what had happened yesterday. The things that had happened in the Moon Immortal Tower naturally couldn't be hidden from the world. Moreover, Zhou Yu and the other Sky Prides had been beaten half to death. Zhang Zichen and the other Sky Prides had been forced to kneel on the ground and crawl out of the private room. How big was this news? It naturally became a topic of conversation. Everyone was very interested in this gossip, and everyone was also very interested in talking about Lin Feng. However, when walking on the street, only a few people knew Lin Feng. Occasionally, some people who knew Lin Feng would quickly shut up. They didn't dare to talk too much about Lin Feng, afraid that Lin Feng would hear them. Once they angered Lin Feng, they naturally wouldn't have a good ending. In the afternoon, Fang Yuan came to Lin Feng's place and brought a piece of good news. Little Rock King was about to come out. After hearing this news, Lin Feng couldn't help but be extremely excited. Fang Yuan asked Lin Feng to wait patiently for a while. Lin Feng nodded and continued to wait patiently. 2 hours later, Little Rock King was brought to Lin Feng's residence by Fang Yuan. When he saw Little Rock King, Lin Feng was extremely excited. When Little Rock King saw Lin Feng, he was stunned at first, then he couldn't help but become excited. Previously, no one had told him who was behind this matter. Therefore, it wasn't until he saw Lin Feng that he knew who was secretly helping him. Brother, you've suffered during this period of time. Lin Feng stepped forward and gave Little Rock King a big bear hug. Little Rock King said, "It's fine. This bit of suffering is nothing. You guys chat. I still have some things to take care of." Fang Yuan said. She was a smart person, so she might not really have anything to talk about. It was obvious that she wanted to give Lin Feng and Little Rock King some time alone. It had to be said. Fang Yuan was a smart woman, and she was very understanding. After Fang Yuan left, Lin Feng waved his hand. He sealed the room with a restriction. "This is not a place to stay for long. Let's leave tomorrow. I heard that you obtained a supreme treasure before. It wasn't snatched away by those people, right?" Lin Feng asked. Little Rock smiled bitterly and said, "The bastards of the 4 great immortal sects revealed the news of me obtaining the supreme treasure, so I knew that I couldn't keep it. So I handed it over." Lin Feng said, "This is a wise move. Who took it? We'll snatch it back before we leave." Chapter 5046. Many powers had many great elders under them, so their authority was naturally different. However, there was only one great elder in the city lord's mansion. Lin Feng said, "There is only one great elder in the city lord's mansion. I saw that old thing before, and when we leave tomorrow, we will snatch that old thing's storage ring." "That's great," Little Rock King said. "How are Fong Yaorao, Fire Qilin, and the others now?" Lin Feng asked. "I'm not too sure about their situation. Previously, we did enter the heavenly illusionary realm together, but after entering the heavenly illusionary realm, we separated and didn't see each other again." Little Rock King said. "Do you still have a way to enter the heavenly illusionary realm?" Lin Feng asked. "There is a way to enter. I know where the entrance is. We can enter from there," Little Rock King said. Lin Feng nodded and said, "All right, then after we leave the Forgotten City, we will go to the heavenly illusionary realm." Little Rock King naturally had no objections to this. Moreover, he knew that Lin Feng definitely wanted to see Fong Yaorao, Fire Qilin, and the others as soon as possible, especially Fong Yaorao. That was Lin Feng's confidant. It had been a long time since they last met. He must have missed her very much. Lin Feng arranged for Little Rock King to rest well. After Little Rock King went to his room to rest, Fong Yuan once again came to Lin Feng's place. "Tomorrow, Little Rock King, and I will be leaving," Lin Feng said. Hearing this, Fong Yuan felt reluctant, but she knew that she couldn't stop all of this. Fong Yuan said somewhat bitterly, "All right, I just don't know if we'll have the chance to meet again in the future." Lin Feng said, "Of course you can go to the Sin Domain to find me." Others might not know Lin Feng's true identity, but Fong Yuan knew, because Lin Feng had already confessed his true identity to Fong Yuan. Hearing Lin Feng's words, Fong Yuan was very happy. Lin Feng's meaning was that he wanted to continue his relationship with her. Fong Yuan could naturally understand the meaning of Lin Feng's words. "There's one thing, can I ask, young master?" Fong Yuan said. "What is it?" Lin Feng asked curiously. Fong Yuan said, "Earlier, I saw you pat Fong Wushu's shoulder. I wonder if there's any deeper meaning behind that pat." Lin Feng was surprised. He never thought that Fong Yuan would actually suspect this. What a meticulous person. Lin Feng said, "Didn't your father want to change Fong Wushu's fate? I don't know what will happen. After changing his fate, there's a high chance that he won't be able to rise again, but there's a small chance that he'll rise again. Therefore, I used a little trick and injected the strength of a curse into his body. That way, I can guarantee that even if he succeeds in changing his fate, he won't be able to rise again. At that time, he won't be a threat to you." Hearing Lin Feng's words, Fong Yuan's heart immediately flowed with warmth. She said, "Thank you for everything you've done for me." "What are you thanking me for?" "That's what I should do," said Lin Feng, blinking. Fong Yuan suddenly had a special feeling in her heart. Right now, she just wanted to hug the man in front of her. Before he left, she wanted to reveal her heart to him. After thinking up to this point, Fong Yuan reached out and hugged Lin Feng. Lin Feng was stunned for a moment before regaining his senses. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. Fong Yuan. She was really a bold woman. She had always been very proactive. "Do you know what you're doing?" Lin Feng looked at Fong Yuan and asked. "Of course I know. I want to turn a fake into a real one." Fong Yuan bit her red lips. She had such a charming and enchanting expression. She was truly a seductress who could charm people to death. That night, it rained outside. The storm never stopped. In the morning, when Lin Feng woke up, he looked at Fong Yuan, who was curled up in his arms like a lazy kitten. He couldn't help but gently stroke Fong Yuan's beautiful face. Fong Yuan's long eyelashes fluttered, and then she opened her sleepy eyes. Her beautiful face became rosy. However, she was a bold woman, so when she looked at Lin Feng, she did not avoid his gaze. "Stay with me for a while longer," Fong Yuan said. Lin Feng nodded and hugged Fang Yuan in his arms. Fang Yuan's face was pressed tightly against Lin Feng's chest, and feeling the strong heartbeat, Fang Yuan's heart was filled with an unprecedented sense of tranquility and security. A woman, entrusting herself to the person she loved, was perhaps an extremely happy thing. The so-called singleness was just an excuse because she hadn't found the person who could make her heart pound. The original Fang Yuan belonged to the singleness, but now she understood the meaning behind it. After tidying up, Lin Feng and Fang Yuan walked out of the room. The Little Rock King was already sitting in the living room, waiting for them. The Little Rock King had obviously seen Fang Yuan before, and now he was somewhat moved by Lin Feng's ability to pick up girls. Even the unruly, peerless beauty of the Forgotten City, the goddess in the hearts of countless people, had been taken down by him. This flirtatious personality had not changed even after so many years. The Little Rock King was born in a good family, and he was also handsome. If he wanted to be a wild and unruly chivalrous person, it would naturally be a rather easy thing to do. However, the Little Rock King did not do so, mainly because he did not have such thoughts. The Little Rock King's mind was basically focused on cultivation, but Lin Feng was different. Other than cultivation, he was also interested in many things such as formations, alchemy. Due to his limited energy, Lin Feng had already given up on alchemy. And of course, there were also some other things that Lin Feng was more interested in, such as beautiful women. Being able to be with beautiful women was always a happy thing. This kind of thing naturally made people feel very comfortable. "Do you still want to say goodbye to my father later?" Fang Yuan asked. "Of course." Lin Feng nodded. After all, now Fang Junshan could be considered as Lin Feng's father-in-law. But Lin Feng felt that if Fang Junshan knew what he and Fang Yuan had done last night, he would definitely not be kind to him, and at that time, he would probably cut him into pieces. Thinking about this, Lin Feng could not help but bitterly smile. In fact, Lin Feng could understand this kind of thing. Chapter 5047. Because in this world, no father would be willing to see his daughter being eaten clean by a man before marriage. If he knew, he would most likely beat the man up and then threaten him. For example, this father might tell the man, "You better treat my daughter well in the future. If you dare to bully my daughter, I will beat you up until half of your body is paralyzed." Perhaps Fang Yuan's father was also such a person. Lin Feng did not let the Little Peng King show himself. He followed Fang Yuan to see Fang Junshan alone. Lin Feng followed Fang Yuan to Fang Junshan's residence. On the way, Lin Feng kept thinking about another thing, which was how to lure the Great Elder out so that he could snatch the Great Elder's things. However, this required strategy. Lin Feng did not plan to leave without snatching those things. Those were the treasures that the Little Peng King had painstakingly obtained. How could he let that old thing, the Great Elder, benefit from it? Lin Feng saw Fang Junshan in the study. Other than Fang Junshan, the patriarchs of the City Lord's mansion, including the Great Elder, were also here. In addition, there was another person. Lin Feng did not know her identity, but he recognized her. She was the beautiful woman who had gone to deal with Lin Feng that night. When he saw the beautiful woman, Lin Feng was clearly startled. He really did not expect this beautiful woman to appear in this place. Fang Yuan bowed to Fang Junshan and the patriarchs, but she did not pay attention to the beautiful woman and the Great Elder. The beautiful woman and the Great Elder were already used to this kind of thing, so they did not have any special expressions. After the beautiful woman saw Lin Feng, she did not say anything, but a cold light flashed in the depths of her eyes. Lin Feng cupped his fists. Fang Yuan said, "Ji still has some things to do, so he has to leave the Forgotten City. He came here to bid farewell to father." Hearing this, Fang Junshan nodded and said, Since little friend has things to take care of, I won't force you to stay. However, I hope little friend will remember that there is someone in the forgotten city who is worthy of your protection. I will remember Yuan, or I won't forget her. When I'm done, I'll come and see her, said Lin Feng. Lin Feng said, All right, remember what you said. If you dare to let Yuan down in the future, don't blame me for being merciless. I won't spare your life, even if I have to chase you to the ends of the earth. Feng Junshan said solemnly. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. Feng Junshan's tone was so serious. Could it be that he knew something? Did Feng Junshan know that Feng Yuan spent the night at my place last night? This was the city lord's mansion, so it was normal for Feng Junshan to know what happened here. It would be abnormal if Feng Junshan didn't know anything. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile bitterly. The current Feng Junshan probably even had the heart to hammer him to death, right? But luckily, he controlled himself. Lin Feng thought that Feng Junshan was very nice to Feng Yuan. As a father, he always protected Feng Yuan. If Feng Junshan hadn't protected Feng Yuan wouldn't have had such a strong background. Otherwise, she would have died many times already. Perhaps it was because of the saying, Love me, love my dog. But Lin Feng felt that Feng Junshan, his father-in-law, was a good person. Lin Feng said, Uncle, what you're worried about won't happen. That's for the best, said Feng Junshan. Feng Junshan nodded. Then Lin Feng and Feng Yuan left. An ancestor said, Brother Wenchong, how's the investigation of our son-in-law's identity going? The forgotten city was extremely powerful, and it had a powerful network in the outside world. Brother Wenchong, the old ancestor, said, We've just received the news. If we tell you his identity, you might be shocked. Oh, who is he? It was still the patriarch who had spoken first, and he asked impatiently. The Emperor of Sin's blood, Lin Feng, said the ancestor called Brother Wenchong. Hearing this, the rest of the people were shocked. The beautiful woman and the great elder's eyes lit up. They could see dense killing intent in each other's eyes. If they could kill the Emperor of Sin's blood, the fortune they would obtain would be unimaginable. The ancestor called Brother Wenchong said, The city lord is as calm as an ancient well. It seems that he already knows this son-in-law's identity. Feng Junshan said, Actually, I had some guesses before, but I wasn't sure. Now that I've heard Ancestor Wenchong's words, I can confirm his identity, so I'm not too surprised. At that moment, Lin Feng and Feng Yuan were walking towards Lin Feng's residence. Who's that woman in the room? Lin Feng asked calmly. She's Feng Wushu's mother, and she's my father's second wife. She's a complete bitch, a venomous woman, Feng Yuan said hatefully. Lin Feng hadn't expected that woman to be Feng Wushu's mother. She was mature and charming, and she had a mature beauty that women didn't have. You're saying that she's your father's second wife. Then who was your father's first wife? Lin Feng asked curiously. It's her older sister. It's said that she's 70 to 80% similar to her older sister. Back then, when her older sister was pregnant, she suddenly died. 2 lives in one body. It was truly a tragedy. Later on, she married my father and became his wife. Feng Yuan said. Lin Feng frowned slightly. Feng Yuan's words seemed to imply something. Are you suspecting something? Lin Feng asked. The servants who took care of the first madam also suddenly died. Feng Yuan said. It seems that this matter explains a lot. Lin Feng said. He knew that Feng Yuan actually wanted to say that all these things were caused by that beautiful woman. Even the tragic death of her sister, who was about to give birth, was also secretly caused by that beautiful woman. However, such words naturally could only be understood and not spoken. Then you have to be careful of her. Lin Feng reminded her. I will. Fang Yuan nodded, thinking about how the beautiful woman had even killed her own older sister in order to climb up the social ladder. Lin Feng was actually quite worried about Fang Yuan. Lin Feng was such a person. When he had a relationship with a woman, he would treat her well. Men were more universal in love, but that didn't mean that they were indifferent. Some men would forget their old love after having a new love, but Lin Feng wasn't such a person. Lin Feng thought of the true dragon crouching heavens diagram he had obtained before. It was a top-grade treasure, and it was extremely powerful. He could still use it twice. Chapter 5048. After hearing Lin Feng's words, Fang Yuan was very touched because it meant that Lin Feng was thinking about her. It meant that Lin Feng didn't just want her body. She had a place in Lin Feng's heart. Thinking about that, Fang Yuan was overjoyed. When a person fell in love with another person, they naturally hoped that the person they loved would also like them. When they knew that the other person felt the same way, they would feel satisfied and happy. However, Fang Yuan didn't intend to accept the treasure because she felt that Lin Feng would encounter even more dangers outside. Many of those dangers could take his life. Lin Feng needed a powerful treasure to protect himself. Naturally, the more treasures he had, the better. Fang Yuan said, "Don't worry about me. I'm fine. Keep the treasure for yourself. That way I'll be at ease." Lin Feng gently scratched Fang Yuan's nose and said, "Little fool, as long as you're safe, I'll be at ease. Besides, I have a lot of tricks up my sleeve. Maybe I'm much stronger than you think. So, take this treasure." Hearing Lin Feng's words, which were full of love, Fang Yuan was touched and overjoyed. She hugged Lin Feng and gave him a kiss. Public morals are degenerating with each passing day. Some people from the city lord's mansion couldn't help but murmur when they saw this, especially the older generation. They quickly left. Fang Yuan accompanied Lin Feng and the little Peng King out of the Forgotten City. Then, they flew out of the Forgotten City. Little Peng King asked, "Are we not going to deal with the Great Elder?" Little Peng King actually felt a little regretful. After all, the Empyrean mirror he had obtained before was a saint item. When the time came, the Empyrean mirror had fused with the Empyrean mirror and could turn into an ancient weapon. Naturally, he would not be willing to let such a treasure be taken away. However, robbing the Great Elder of the Forgotten City would be quite difficult. Lin Feng replied, "Don't worry, no one can take away a treasure that belongs to you. That old bastard will definitely come after us." As he said this, he couldn't help but think of that beautiful woman. That beautiful woman was called Lan Kaiyan. Their names were quite nice, but they were not good people. Lin Feng hoped that Lan Kaiyan would chase after them at that time. Then he could catch them all in one fell swoop. In this way, Fang Yuan would have one less big problem. Hearing Lin Feng's words, little Peng became very excited and said, "That's great." Lin Feng and the Little Rock King were not fast because they were waiting for the Great Elder to arrive. There were 3 reasons why Lin Feng had determined that the Great Elder had come. The first one, he was now Fang Yuan's man, and Fang Yuan was their enemy. Getting rid of him would be a huge blow to Fang Yuan. The second one, he had destroyed Fang Wushu's physical body, which would make these people hate him very much. Lan Caiyan's attack on him was a good example. The third one, so much time had passed. Lin Feng had the feeling that maybe the people of the Forgotten City already knew who he really was, but they hadn't said anything yet. Many people wanted to kill him for 2 reasons. First, they could go to defeat Wu Dao and the Heaven Emperor to exchange for a large amount of rewards. Second, they could obtain his things. Everyone knew that he had many powerful abilities, magic treasures, and even heaven-defying luck. Therefore, there were naturally many experts eyeing him, wanting to kill him. Combining these reasons, Lin Feng felt that the Great Elder would definitely make a move. When the Great Elder made a move, he would probably join forces with other experts. However, Lin Feng did not know who the Great Elder would join forces with. Regardless, Lin Feng was not afraid, unless the other party was a golden immortal. However, if a golden immortal wanted to deal with him, he would not need to join forces with the Great Elder. He could do it himself. The next night, when Lin Feng and the Little Rock King were resting in the desert, they were attacked by poisonous insects. A large number of poisonous insects, including shrews, centipedes, poisonous snakes, and other things, took advantage of the fact that Lin Feng and the Little Rock King were sleeping and quietly crawled to their side. Then, those poisonous insects bit towards their bodies. Lin Feng and the Little Rock King were both more cautious, so when they were resting, they also left behind their spiritual sense to observe the situation outside. The moment they were attacked, they woke up and soared into the sky, dodging the poisonous insects' attacks. Hee hee hee. What a vigilant brat. Your flesh and blood are delicious. You're making me drool. You can all become a feast for me. At this moment, a sinister and terrifying voice was heard. Lin Feng looked over and immediately saw a cultivator wearing a black robe. His entire body was shrouded in a black fog, making it impossible to see what he looked like. However, this existence was definitely an extremely terrifying cultivator. Furthermore, he was an expert of the Devil Dao. Is it just you? If that's the case, then this place will become your graveyard. Lin Feng said indifferently. Hearing Lin Feng's words, the demonic expert's expression became extremely unsightly. He was a proud person, and now that Lin Feng's words were full of contempt for him, he was naturally extremely angry. Brat, you're still as arrogant as before. You're about to die, yet you still dare to be so arrogant. It's quite rare to see someone like you. At this moment, another voice was heard. This was the Great Elder's voice, and Lin Feng still remembered it clearly. The next moment, an old man walked out of the void. It was none other than the Great Elder. Another one has come to die. Where's that beauty Lan Kai Yen? Lin Feng said. The Great Elder was slightly stunned, but then he sneered and said, You're really not a good person. Lin Feng said, What's wrong with me? You're the one who's thinking too much. It seems like there's still someone hiding in the dark. I've already discovered you. You can come out now. Brat, you're quite capable. You can even discover me. At this moment, a third cultivator stepped out of the void. Chapter 5049. The demonic cultivator was called Thousand Poisons Venerable. His cultivation was unfathomable. However, his most powerful technique was not his cultivation, but his ability to control all kinds of poisonous insects. Previously, when Lin Feng and the Little Rock King were attacked by those poisonous insects, it was Thousand Poisons Venerable who secretly took action. Fortunately, Lin Feng and the Little Rock King had always been cautious and vigilant. However, it was clear that not everyone was as cautious as them. Perhaps many people didn't even know what was going on when they were attacked by poisonous insects. It was said that this technique was a powerful ability that Thousand Poisons Venerable possessed since he was born. It was said that this ability came from his bloodline, but no one knew what kind of special bloodline he had. As for the other cultivator who looked righteous, he was called Wu Xielin. This person only looked righteous on the surface, but in reality, he was a famous expert of the evil path. Many people felt their hair stand on end when they heard his name, because this person's reputation wasn't very good. Moreover, he cultivated an extremely evil yang harvesting technique. It was said that this yang harvesting technique killed both men and women. This kind of yang harvesting technique was extremely rare. Generally speaking, this yang harvesting technique was only used to target men or women, but this kind of technique that killed both men and women was unheard of. Of course, this was an incomparably mysterious world, so no matter what happened, it seemed to be understandable and acceptable, including the technique that killed both men and women. These two people also had another identity, and that was that they were sworn brothers with the Great Elder. Moreover, these years they had been worshippers in the city. Feng Wushu's mother's side was very powerful, not only because there were many strong cultivators on her side, but also because their connections were extraordinary. For example, Thousand Poison's venerable and Wu Xielin belonged to the Great Elder's network. If the three of you hadn't offended me, you could have lived quite freely, but now that you've offended me, you're destined to die miserably. Soon, I'll let you know how miserable the consequences of offending me are. Lin Feng looked indifferently at the three strong cultivators. Ha 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 ha. Kid, are you messing with us? The first elder suddenly laughed and looked at Lin Feng with disdain. He admitted that Lin Feng's methods were indeed extraordinary, but with the three of them working together, how could they not deal with Lin Feng? As for the Little Rock King, he was ignored by the Great Elder. The Little Rock King's cultivation was indeed extraordinary, but after all, his foundation was still shallow and could not participate in a battle of their level. Therefore, the basic situation now was that the three of them were besieging Lin Feng alone. This was also the reason why the Great Elder was so confident. I've heard that you're incomparably arrogant. Now that I've met you, I know that you're not just arrogant. You're simply an idiot. Do you think that you're invincible just because you have some ability? You can't even distinguish the situation in front of you. I really don't know how your brain grew up. Perhaps it's because you inherited a powerful destiny from your father, and it was your father who protected you and allowed you to cultivate to your current level. However, your good luck is about to run out today. Wu Xilin also looked at Lin Feng coldly. His eyes were filled with disdain. Hee, I can't wait to kill this brat and see what's in his storage ring. I'm really looking forward to it. Just thinking about it makes my heart beat faster. My heart is pounding, said the Thousand Poison's venerable master sinisterly. The three strong cultivators were convinced that they could defeat Lin Feng. They sounded as if they were in control of everything. The Little Rock King glanced at Lin Feng and saw that Lin Feng was still as calm as ever. The Little Rock King's worry disappeared. He understood Lin Feng too well. When he saw Lin Feng's expression, he knew that Lin Feng had a way to deal with the three strong cultivators. Even though it sounded unbelievable, but the Little Rock King was very confident in Lin Feng. In the Martial Heaven continent, Lin Feng had created countless miracles. It had been over 100 years since the Great Changes. During these years, Lin Feng had definitely advanced by leaps and bounds. Furthermore, he definitely had many trump cards. Perhaps Lin Feng would use those trump cards now. Let's do it. A long delay may cause trouble, said the Great Elder. All right, let's kill these two brats. The Thousand Poisons monk and Wu Xielin nodded. They didn't want to wait any longer. They wanted to kill Lin Feng and the Little Rock King right now. A terrifying aura spread out of the three of them. The three of them were extremely powerful, and they had been working together for a long time. Now that the three of them joined hands, they could unleash unimaginable power. Lin Feng knew that it would be difficult to deal with the three of them. Even if he used all his trump cards, it would still be a fierce battle. Perhaps he and the Little Rock King would really die to their attacks. Therefore, Lin Feng didn't plan on fighting them. Lin Feng planned on using the three insect swarms to deal with the three experts. When the three experts started preparing their attacks, Lin Feng waved his hand. The three insect swarms immediately flew out. The primitive demon refining insects, the celestial devouring insects, and the flying crimson demonic insects. The 3 swarms of insects seemed to be endless. The swarm of insects blotted out the sky and covered the earth. In a flash, the 3 experts were surrounded. Their expressions changed drastically. They were caught unprepared. They had no choice but to take out powerful defensive treasures to block the insect swarms. The first elder took out an ancient bronze statue. The bronze statue floated above him and emitted rays of cyan light. The cyan light protected the first elder's body. The 1,000 poisons monk took out a treasure cauldron. The cauldron emitted godly light to protect his body. A suit of armor appeared on the surface of Wu Xilin's body, protecting his body, apart from his eyes. The armor around his mouth was not sealed. He needed to see and breathe. Chapter 50-50. Lin Feng's face was quite gloomy. The constant casualties of the 3 insect swarms made Lin Feng's heart ache. It was not easy to cultivate these insect swarms, not to mention that it was even more difficult to cultivate them to such a powerful level. However, when there was a battle, there were bound to be casualties. This was an immutable truth. Lin Feng naturally understood this truth. Although the 3 insect swarms were constantly dying, their attack power was also extremely tyrannical. The light shield protecting the 3 experts was becoming thinner and thinner. The defensive light shield was about to be eaten by the 3 insect swarms. If the 3 insect swarms could completely break the defensive light shield, then they would be able to erupt with incredible power. This point, naturally, it made people look forward to it. The 3 experts knew what kind of danger they were facing. If the 3 insect swarms were not large enough, they could eliminate them in a short time and then besiege Lin Feng and Little Rock King. However, the 3 insect swarms were too large, making them feel like they could not kill them all. Therefore, they knew that they had to find a way to deal with the 3 insect swarms. Otherwise, the situation would be very bad. Brother 1,000 Poisons, quickly take out the insect swarms you cultivated. The great elder said. 1,000 Poisons, Venerable nodded with a gloomy face. He had also cultivated 2 insect swarms, which were extremely extraordinary. 1,000 Poisons, Venerable took out the insect swarms he had cultivated. Suddenly, the insect swarms cultivated by 1,000 Poisons, Venerable, and Lin Feng fought fiercely. However, the insect swarms cultivated by 1,000 Poisons, Venerable could not be compared to the 3 insect swarms. They were rapidly being eliminated by Lin Feng's 3 insect swarms. Although Lin Feng's 3 insect swarms were no match for the previous desert god-killing insects, it did not mean that they were not powerful enough. In fact, all 3 swarms of Lin Feng's were extremely rare spiritual insects with terrifying fighting strength. Back then, the 3 insect swarms were defeated by the desert god-killing insects. Firstly, the disparity in numbers was too great. Secondly, the desert god-killing insects were too powerful. In the history of this epic, the desert god-killing insects were ranked among the top insect swarms. Under the attack of the desert god-killing insects, the 3 insect swarms were able to resist for such a long time and even kill many of them. From this, it could be seen how powerful the 3 insect swarms were. It was extremely difficult to obtain such a powerful insect swarm. It required both opportunity and luck. 1,000 Poisons Venerable's insect swarms were almost completely defeated by Lin Feng's 3 insect swarms. 1,000 Poisons Venerable's plan of using the insect swarms to counterattack was completely foiled. The hearts of the 3 powerhouses could not help but suddenly sink because they knew that this was going to be troublesome. Lin Feng's insect swarms were too terrifying. Now, the 3 experts were regretting their actions. If they had known that Lin Feng was so terrifying, they would not have come looking for trouble with Lin Feng even if they were beaten to death. However, what was done could not be undone. Everything had already happened. Now was not the time to regret. Moreover, was there any use in regretting now? They might as well think of a way to salvage the situation. The first elder said, "Young friend Lin, I think there's some misunderstanding between us." When he heard the first elder's words, Lin Feng rolled his eyes speechlessly. As the saying goes, shameless people are invincible. Lin Feng was speechless that the first elder could say such shameless words. Lin Feng sneered. "What? You want to beg for mercy? Sure, I'll give you a chance. If you give up resisting now, I might spare your lives." The first elder and the others' faces were extremely gloomy. They naturally did not believe Lin Feng's words. If they gave up resisting, they would be dead in the next moment. The first elder said, "Young friend Lin, how about we each take a step back? I'm sure young friend Lin doesn't want to see us end up in a situation where both sides suffer, right?" "Both sides suffer? How can that be?" "I think the three of you will die here," said Lin Feng, smiling icily. It had already come to this. This guy still dared to threaten him. How shameless! How could Lin Feng be afraid of this old thing? "If we fight with our lives on the line, there's a high chance that we can drag the three of you down with us," the first elder said in a deep voice. Lin Feng said, "Then let's see if you can drag the two of us down with you." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Feng gave the insect swarm an order. The insect swarm's attacks became fiercer and stronger. Facing the insect swarm's attacks, it was getting harder and harder for the three of them to defend themselves. The three of them had fierce looks in their eyes. It seemed that they were already thinking of using their lives on the line. Lin Feng was not surprised that experts at this level had extremely powerful life-risking techniques. If they did not have such powerful life-risking techniques, Lin Feng would find it strange. Therefore, Lin Feng did not want to sit and wait for death. He decided to take the initiative to attack. Lin Feng told the little Peng King to wait for him in the distance. Lin Feng held the epic war spear in his hand and rushed towards the three of them. At this moment, the three of them had already been separated by the insect swarm. They were fighting separately and could no longer stay together. Therefore, their situation was actually quite bad. Lin Feng locked onto the first elder. Among the three of them, the first elder was the one that Lin Feng feared the most. That old bastard definitely had some terrifying tricks up his sleeve, but he didn't want to use them until the last moment. Lin Feng had to kill him before that old bastard used any of his tricks. Lin Feng used the space Dao and hid his body in the void. The first elder was now using all his strength to defend against the insect swarm's attacks. Therefore, he did not notice Lin Feng, who was gradually approaching him. When Lin Feng arrived behind the first elder, Lin Feng jumped out with the epic war spear in his hand. Then, Lin Feng stabbed the first elder's body with the epic war spear. The terrifying spear contained destructive power and instantly stabbed the first elder's defensive light shield. At this moment, the first elder realized that Lin Feng was hiding behind him. By the time the first elder reacted, Lin Feng's war spear had already pierced through the light shield protecting the first elder's body. Then, the terrifying spear instantly pierced the first elder's chest. Chapter 50-51. Lin Feng's right hand that was holding the war spear suddenly shook, and a powerful force immediately shook out. A bang sounded out. Suddenly, the great elder's body directly collapsed, leaving behind only his source energy and storage ring. Lin Feng put away the great elder's source energy and storage ring. The situation here naturally couldn't be hidden from Thousand Poison Monk and Wu Xielin, although the two of them couldn't see the specific situation because their vision was blocked. Their divine senses sensed the situation here. When their divine senses sensed all of this, their faces became incomparably ugly. Even the strongest great elder had been killed by Lin Feng. Now it seemed that the two of them couldn't escape this calamity. It was naturally not easy for the two of them to cultivate to their current level, so they naturally didn't want to die. Therefore, the two of them begged one after another, "Don't kill us. As long as you don't kill us, we are willing to do anything for you. As long as you spare us, we are willing to do anything for you." The two of them did have some hidden methods that could be used at a critical moment, but the current situation was extremely bad for them. Although they could try those methods, the great elder had been killed by Lin Feng. Without the great elder's cooperation, they had no confidence in their hearts. The strong naturally attached great importance to their dignity. However, when their lives were in danger, the strong would also succumb to reality. In the face of dignity and death, there were too few people who could choose dignity. There was only hope when one was alive. Dead, everything was for naught. Compared to living, what was dignity? It was nothing at all. Therefore, Thousand Poison Monk and Wu Xielin chose to live. They couldn't care about their dignity. Moreover, in their opinion, begging for mercy from the sinner's blood emperor, or even submitting to him, didn't seem to be unacceptable. After hearing the two of them beg for mercy, Lin Feng couldn't help but slightly raise his eyebrows. The two of them had powerful cultivations, so he could indeed spare their lives. They would be a good help in the future. When the battle with the heavenly court came in the future, perhaps he could use them. Thinking of this, Lin Feng said, "Good, I can give you a chance to live. Now, swear an oath of loyalty to me." Hearing Lin Feng make them swear an oath, the two of them couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. This meant that Lin Feng would no longer pursue their responsibilities, and they could finally continue to live. However, when he thought about becoming someone else's subordinate from now on and listening to someone else's orders, he couldn't help but feel a little bitter. Perhaps he wouldn't be able to live freely in the future, but being able to keep his life was actually quite a good result. "I'm the Thousand Poisons Monk. I'm Wu Xielin. I am willing to make an oath here. From now on, those who are willing to pledge their loyalty to the young master will be absolutely loyal to the young master. If they dare to betray the young master, they will immediately die a horrible death." After the Thousand Poisons' venerable master and Wu Xielin made the oath in an instant. Thus, the two parties formed a contract. From then on, the two of them became Lin Feng's slaves. They would definitely be loyal to Lin Feng. They would never dare to betray Lin Feng. You don't have to go back to the Forgotten City. You can stay in the ancient demon realm and a few other domains and try to control some small sections. Then you can gradually nibble away at the other sects and secretly recruit troops to strengthen yourself. When I need you, I will send someone to inform you." Lin Feng said. Right now, Lin Feng had already begun to prepare for the great battle with the heavenly court in the future. This matter could not be delayed. Before the foundation powerhouses appeared, the heavenly courts had more than 20 perfected immortal powerhouses. As the foundation powerhouses appeared one after another, the heavenly court would definitely have more true immortal rankers. As a result, right now he had to plan ahead. Otherwise, when the great battle arrived, the Sin realm would probably be razed to the ground by the heavenly court. This was naturally not the result that Lin Feng wanted to see. "Yes, we will definitely follow young master's orders and continue to strengthen our forces," Thousand Poisons Monk and Wu Xielin said in unison. "Good. You can leave now," Lin Feng said. The two of them bowed to Lin Feng and quickly left. Lin Feng, on the other hand, kept the 3 insect swarms. Then he met up with the Little Rock King. He gave the Thousand Poisons Monk's source and storage ring to the Little Rock King. Then, he said, find some time to refine these sources. It will be beneficial to your cultivation. The Little Rock King did not refuse and kept the items. He had a close relationship with Lin Feng, so he naturally did not need to be polite to Lin Feng. That would be more polite. Then, the Little Rock King sensed the storage ring. With a slight movement of his spiritual will, a mirror flew out. The mirror was a stone mirror and looked rather special. It should be the legendary Empyrean mirror. The mirror was extraordinary and emitted intense fluctuations. The Little Rock King refined the Empyrean mirror again. Keep the rest of the things. You will need them when you cultivate in the future. Lin Feng said. The Little Rock King nodded and kept the storage ring. The two of them did not stay any longer and quickly left. They left the ancient demon desert and arrived at the ancient demon realm's Thousand Demon City. This was an ancient city controlled by the demon race. Lin Feng first came to the Thousand Demon City because he wanted to find a way to cure Lung Zixi poison. Lung Zixi was poisoned by the fire poison immortal devouring insect. Even the demon lord didn't know how to cure this poison. Fortunately, Lung Zixi's 8 extraordinary meridians were temporarily sealed. In addition, the white jade toad was helping Lung Zixi suppress the poison in her body, so Lung Zixi's poison did not flare up. However, Lin Feng also needed to hurry up and think of a way to cure the poison in Lung Zixi's body. After the poison in his body was cured, then he would consider the matter of the heavenly illusionary realm. After arriving at the Thousand Demon City, the two of them first found a residence. The Little Rock King went to refine the source that he had obtained earlier, while Lin Feng went to find a way to cure the poison. Within the Thousand Demon City, there was an all-knowing pavilion. Lin Feng went to the all-knowing pavilion. An elder with the surname Ma received Lin Feng. This person was called Ma Yong, and he looked to be in his 40s. After the two of them sat down, Ma Yong smiled and asked, "May I know what information the young master wants from our all-knowing pavilion?" Lin Feng asked, "Elder, have you heard of the fire poison immortal devouring insect?" Hearing this, Ma Yong was slightly startled. He nodded and said, "I have indeed heard of this poisonous insect. It's an extremely terrifying poisonous insect, but it's almost impossible to see it nowadays." Ma Yong recognized this poisonous insect. Chapter 5052. Lin Feng placed his hopes on the all-knowing pavilion. After all, the all-knowing pavilion had a wide range of information. If the all-knowing pavilion did not know about this, then it would be very bad. It would be very difficult to find out. Of course, he still needed to hear what Ma Yong had to say. At this time, Ma Yong said, "The all-knowing pavilion does not know how to cure the poison of the fire poison immortal devouring insect." Hearing this, Lin Feng could not help but feel a little disappointed. It seemed that he would have to find another way. However, at this time, Ma Yong continued, but when he heard Ma Yong's, but Lin Feng's eyes could not help but light up slightly. This but was a turning point. Ma Yong continued, "I know of a person who has researched a detoxification method, but I'm not particularly sure if it can cure the poison of the fire poison immortal devouring insect. I'll have to trouble Elder to introduce me to this person." Lin Feng said. Ma Yong said, "Of course, but this person's temperament is a little strange. I don't know if he will agree to help. When the time comes, it will depend on how you discuss this matter with him." Lin Feng nodded and said, "No problem." They did not waste any time, and Ma Yong personally brought Lin Feng to see the strange cultivator. On the way, Lin Feng did some research on the cultivator. The cultivator was known as the medicine demon. It was said that he was a cultivator who researched all kinds of medicine until he went crazy. This was the origin of the term medicine demon. Nowadays, almost no one knew the real name of the medicine demon, and no one knew what kind of power he used to be. Everyone only knew that the medicine demon had been in Fiend City for many years and had been researching all kinds of medicine. Lin Feng followed Ma Yong to the place where the medicine demon lived. The medicine demon lived in a courtyard in the northwest corner. After Lin Feng and Ma Yong entered the courtyard, they saw a large number of bottles and jars, as well as some broken medicine cauldrons. In the corner of the courtyard was a medicinal garden, but there were only a few living spirit herbs in the garden. As for the few stalks of spiritual herbs that were still alive, their heads drooped and they looked listless. Bang! As soon as Lin Feng and Ma Yong entered the courtyard, a loud sound came from the room inside. It was as if something had exploded. If the entire courtyard was not protected by restrictions, it would have been destroyed long ago. Next, a cultivator walked out from the room while swearing. The cultivator who walked out from the room had a thin figure. He was not particularly tall, around 165 meters in height. He appeared to be in his 50s, and his hair was disheveled. His clothes were in tatters, and he cut quite the wretched sight. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself when he saw the cultivator's expression. Cauldron explosion was a professional term among alchemists. It meant that the failure of refining pills caused the pills inside to explode for some special reason. When the pills exploded, it formed a powerful impact. The cauldron used to refine the pills could not withstand this terrifying impact and finally exploded. Isn't this nephew, Ma? You came at the right time. I just developed a special potion a few days ago. Why don't you try it and see how it works? The medicine demon smiled when he saw Ma Yong. He really looked like an old ghost that had crawled out from hell. Ma Yong shuddered. He ran out of the courtyard and said, "I don't want to be a lab rat anymore." Ma Yong began to pray for Lin Feng. "Trash, you're so scared. You can't be taught." The medicine demon cursed when he saw Ma Yong running away. He kicked a broken medicine cauldron on the ground. The medicine cauldron slammed into the wall and made a loud noise. The medicine demon squinted at Lin Feng and said with a smile, "Little friend, let me introduce myself. I'm called the Medicine Immortal. It's a title given to me by my friends. I'm a low-key person and would never show off my alchemy skills in front of others, but I can't do anything about it. Recently, I've been researching a new potion that can open up the body's 8 extraordinary meridians. Why don't you try it and see how it works?" Lin Feng was speechless. He couldn't even tell how effective his own potion was. No wonder Ma Yong ran away. It seemed that Ma Yong had been a lab rat for the medicine demon before, and he was one of those unlucky lab rats. Why don't you take it yourself? Maybe the effect will be better, Lin Feng said. He didn't want to be the medicine demon's lab rat. The medicine demon felt awkward when he heard Lin Feng. It was impossible for him to take the potion himself. After all, he didn't want to be a lab rat. Little friend, this is a great opportunity for you to make a meteoric rise and change your fate. The potions created by this medicine immortal are priceless outside. Even if you're as rich as a country, you won't be able to buy the potions created by this medicine immortal. Now, there's a great opportunity in front of you. You should cherish it. If you miss this opportunity, you won't have it again. The medicine demon continued to speak earnestly. He needed to trick Lin Feng into taking the potion he was researching. Lin Feng already knew that the medicine demon was an extremely unreliable person, so he didn't believe him. Not only was this guy unreliable, but he was also a big liar. He was called the medicine demon. However, He called himself the medicine immortal. The difference between a demon and an immortal was huge. Could he be any more shameless? If he was shameless, he wouldn't call himself the medicine immortal, right? Was he trying to blow his own trumpet? Let's talk about that later. Actually, I came here because I wanted to talk to you about something else. Your Excellency, said Lin Feng. What is it? The medicine demon asked. I heard that you've researched a way to neutralize the fire poison immortal devouring bug. I wonder if you've successfully developed an antidote. Lin Feng asked. Was someone poisoned? The medicine demon asked. Yes, it was a friend of mine, Lin Feng said. The medicine demon grinned. What an evil smile. Lin Feng's heart trembled. The medicine demon stretched out his right hand. In his right hand was a porcelain bottle filled with medicinal liquid. Chapter 50-53. The thing inside the bottle must be what the medicine demon was talking about, right? Lin Feng was speechless. Medicine demon, this guy, was determined to make him his lab rat. You know the rules. The medicine demon said. Lin Feng gritted his teeth. For Lung Zishi, he would be the lab rat for once. Lin Feng took the bottle, opened it, and sniffed. He immediately felt an extremely pungent smell irritating his body. Lin Feng was speechless. The smell was extremely unpleasant. What kind of elixir is this made of? Why does it smell so bad? Lin Feng asked. The medicine demon said, This is good stuff. I added hundreds of precious things, such as the venom of the three-headed king cobra, the venom of the 72-armed spider king. And then the medicine demon said a lot of things. The things that the medicine demon said were either extremely terrifying poisons, poisonous insects, or poisonous plants. Lin Feng rolled his eyes. This potion was actually made of a lot of poisonous things. Would there be any problems after drinking it? Lin Feng was really worried about his little life. He had the feeling that if he drank it, he would really die. You don't look too good. Are you worried about this potion? You really don't have to worry. This potion is good stuff. Although it's made of poisonous things, it's a great tonic. Not only is it good for cultivation, but as a man, you should know what a great tonic means. The medicine demon said with a smile. Lin Feng said, Won't it kill me if so many poisons are mixed together? Have you forgotten what I'm called? I'm called the medicine immortal. This immortal can naturally neutralize all the side effects of demons. Poison is also a demon, but in this immortal's eyes, it's nothing. All the poisons have been combined, the medicine demon said. Then he continued, Don't wait any longer. Take it now. You'll be very grateful to me later. Lin Feng was helpless. He didn't believe a single word the medicine demon said. However, in order to find a way to neutralize the poison in Lung Zishi's body, Lin Feng had to agree even if he didn't want to. Lin Feng drank the potion in one gulp. After drinking it, he felt a burning sensation in his stomach. However, the burning sensation quickly disappeared. After the burning sensation disappeared, Lin Feng felt warm. Other than that, he didn't feel anything else. Fortunately, he wasn't poisoned. This was a good result. How do you feel? Asked Medicine Demon excitedly. He couldn't wait to hear Lin Feng's answer. Said Lin Feng, I don't feel anything special. Everything is normal. That's not right. It shouldn't be like this. The Medicine Demon immediately became extremely distressed. Clearly, the effects of the potion were different from what he had imagined. Something must have gone wrong. Where did it go wrong? The Medicine Demon turned around and wanted to run back to his room to study it. However, how could Lin Feng let the Medicine Demon go? He grabbed the Medicine Demon. Why are you grabbing me? The Medicine Demon said, unhappily. Lin Feng said, You promised to tell me how to neutralize the fire poison Immortal's devouring bug. I don't know. How can I tell you? F***CK. If you don't know, then why did you make me drink the potion? Do you think I'm easy to fool? Do you believe that I won't tear down this place of yours and beat you until half your body is paralyzed? Lin Feng said fiercely. Medicine Fiend said, Brat, you dare to show off in front of me? I've roamed the world for so many years, and I've tricked countless people, but I'm still living a carefree life. Why don't you think about why? Why else? It was mainly because of the medicine demon's strength. Lin Feng could feel the medicine demon's tyrannical battle strength without needing him to say anything. However, since you just drank the potion, I won't argue with you this time. You can leave now, the medicine demon said. Bang! As soon as the medicine demon finished speaking, a fist as big as a sandbag smashed into the medicine demon's detestable face. The medicine demon let out a miserable cry. Then he fell to the ground. The next moment, he jumped up like a carp and shouted fiercely, I really didn't expect you to have some tricks up your sleeve. But so what? In front of me, you're still far from enough. The medicine demon pounced at Lin Feng and punched at Lin Feng. Lin Feng punched back. The two sides collided, and the medicine demon was sent flying by Lin Feng like a kite with a broken string. Then his body smashed the door to pieces. The medicine demon fell to the ground in an incomparably sorry state. He sat up and shouted, I'm not fighting anymore. I'm not fighting anymore. I didn't expect to meet such a perverted brat today. Lin Feng did not plan to continue teaching the medicine demon a lesson. He continued to ask, is there really no way to neutralize the fire poison immortal's poison? The medicine demon said, how could there not be? Everything has its own counter. So naturally, there is a way to neutralize this poison. Lin Feng was speechless and said, you just said there isn't one. The medicine demon said, nonsense. I just said that I haven't developed a way to neutralize this poison. This old man was really lying through his teeth. Previously, this guy had said that he didn't know how to neutralize the poison. Lin Feng did not argue with the medicine demon about this. He asked, how can I neutralize this poison? I haven't developed the antidote, but I know that as long as I find 3 heavenly treasures, I can neutralize the fire poison immortal's poison, the medicine demon said. What are the heavenly treasures? Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he asked. The medicine demon said, the first heavenly treasure is called snow dragon grass, the second heavenly treasure is called crescent moon grass, and the third heavenly treasure is called pure, clean water. If you find these 3 things, you can mix the snow dragon grass and crescent moon grass into the pure, clean water and give it to the poisoned person to drink. The poisoned person will be able to neutralize the poison, and then the poisoned person will be able to come back to life. Hearing this, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Chapter 50-54. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown when he heard Medicine Demon's words. If what Medicine Demon said was true, then finding the 3 things he needed would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. You didn't find any clues? Lin Feng asked. Medicine Demon shrugged. Lin Feng smiled bitterly, but he couldn't give up. He would go to the all-knowing pavilion and the other major trading companies to inquire about the whereabouts of the 3 treasures. He hoped to find them quickly. Thank you. I'll take my leave now. Lin Feng cupped his fists. He didn't stay any longer and quickly left. After leaving Medicine Demon's place, Lin Feng returned to the all-knowing pavilion. When Ma Yong saw that Lin Feng was safe and sound, he was surprised. He asked, are you all right? I'm fine. Lin Feng said. Then you must not have drunk the medicine demon gave you. Ma Yong said confidently. If Lin Feng had drunk the medicine, he wouldn't be able to come back anytime soon. Lin Feng said, I drank the medicine, and it tasted pretty good. Did you have any adverse reactions? Ma Yong asked. Nope. Lin Feng said. Ma Yong even felt like crying. Back then, he had drunk the medicine several times, and every time he had to lie in bed for 10 days to half a month to recover. However, Lin Feng was completely fine. Why was the medicine he had drunk so bad? But Lin Feng's medicine didn't affect him at all. It really made Ma Yong want to cry. Lin Feng said, I want to find the whereabouts of 3 things. Can the all-knowing pavilion keep an eye out for them? If you can find them, I'll thank the elders. Ma Yong knew that Lin Feng wasn't an ordinary person, so he had always been polite to Lin Feng. He said, Please tell me, young master, the 3 things I'm looking for are snow dragon grass, crescent moon grass, and pure clean water. Lin Feng said. Ma Yong replied, Those 3 things are indeed quite rare, and I've only heard of them, but have never seen them before. However, don't worry, sir. The 100 Days Pavilion will do everything in our power to help Sir find those 3 things. That's good. Lin Feng nodded. Then he left the 100 Days Pavilion. Then Lin Feng went to some of the big trading companies in the Demon City. Lin Feng inquired about the whereabouts of these 3 treasures, but he didn't find any clues. Before leaving, Lin Feng told the higher-ups of the big trading companies that as long as they could find these 3 treasures, he would be willing to pay 10 times the price to buy them. Hearing this, the upper echelons of the various trading companies couldn't help but reveal a pleasantly surprised expression. If that was the case, in that case, they could indeed try to search for the 3 treasures. After all, the price Lin Feng offered was a little too high. There was a saying that 3 times the price was enough to move one's heart. 5 times the price was enough to drive people crazy. 8 times the price was enough to make people go all out. 10 times the price. That was even more tempting to go all out to complete this task. Lin Feng then returned to his residence. The Little Rock King was still in seclusion. When the Little Rock King came out, he could talk to him about this matter. Perhaps he could get the Little Rock King to send the news back to the ancestral land of the Demon Clan. The ancestral land of the Demon Clan had been passed down for countless years. Perhaps they knew some information or even had such a treasure. If that was the case, then it would be too exciting. After waiting for 5 days, the Little Rock King came out of seclusion. During this seclusion, the Little Rock King had completely recovered his former vigor, and his cultivation had also greatly improved. It seemed that the Little Rock King had obtained quite a lot of benefits. Lin Feng smiled and said, It seems that the results of this seclusion are quite good. The Little Rock King was very satisfied with this seclusion. He couldn't help but nod and say, Yes, the results of this seclusion are quite good. It's all thanks to the great elder's source that my cultivation was able to improve. Lin Feng nodded and said, By the way, there's something I need your help with. The Little Rock King asked, What is it? Lin Feng said, I've already found a way to cure the poison, but the 3 natural treasures required to cure the poison are too difficult to find. I've already asked the all-knowing pavilion and the various large businesses to help me find them, but I'm not sure if they'll be able to find them. The ancestral land of the Demon Clan has been passed down for a long time, so there must be a lot of treasures there. Write a letter and ask if the ancestral land of the Demon Clan has these 3 natural treasures. If they don't, ask the people of the ancestral land of the Demon Clan to help look for them. They've been here for many years, so they must have extremely powerful connections. No problem. I'll write a letter right now, the Little Rock King said. He wrote a letter. This letter was for a high-ranking member of the Demon Clan's ancestral land. The Little Rock King probably had a very good relationship with this high-ranking member. The content of the letter was to ask this high-ranking member to help find the 3 natural treasures. After writing the letter, the Little Rock King showed it to Lin Feng. Lin Feng felt that there was no problem. The Little Rock King said, "There's an office in the Demon Clan's ancestral land in the Demon Clan's city. I'll send the letter over now and have them deliver it to the Demon Clan's ancestral land." "All right." Lin Feng nodded, then left the room with the Little Rock King. Lin Feng and the Little Rock King planned to head straight to the heavenly illusionary land after delivering the letter to the office. The person in charge of the office was a female cultivator with an enchanting figure. She obviously knew the Little Rock King. She smiled and said, "I heard that the Little Rock King was being hunted down by the cultivators of the 4 major immortal sects. I thought it was true and worried for a long time. Now that I see that you're fine, I realize that the rumors were just rumors spread by bored people. Thank you for your concern, Fairy." The Little Rock King cupped his fists. The female cultivator then looked at Lin Feng, then smiled and said, "Young master, are you a friend of the Little Rock King? You don't look familiar. You don't seem to be from the ancient demon realm, right?" "I'm Lin Feng." Lin Feng cupped his fists and said, sometimes Lin Feng would tell others that his name was G. This was because Lin Feng did not want to attract too much attention. Lin Feng's relationship with the demon race was somewhat special, so there was no need to hide his true identity. The female cultivator was obviously very surprised, and her pink lips could not help but open slightly. This name was really well known. Of course, there seemed to be many people called Lin Feng. Many people changed their names after the Sinner's Blood Emperor, Lin Feng, rose to power. No one knew what the purpose was. However, the female cultivator did not think that the human cultivator in front of her was an imposter. This was because she knew that Lin Feng and the Little Rock King both came from the 9 states' great world and seemed to have a good relationship. Now, the person with the Little Rock King was also called Lin Feng, and he was a young human cultivator. Chapter 5055. So it's Lin Gongzi. I've long heard of your great name. Lin Gongzi. I didn't expect to see Lin Gongzi here. My name is Yudai Lin. May I ask if I have the opportunity to be friends with you? The female devil said with a charming smile. She extended her right hand as if she wanted to shake Lin Feng's hand. In the world of cultivators, most male cultivators would greet each other with cupped fists. Most of the female cultivators bowed slightly in greeting. Of course, there were some who would greet each other with a handshake, but this was rare. There were also some who would greet each other with their noses touching each other's faces, but this was even rarer. There were all kinds of greetings. This had something to do with one's race or personal habits. Lin Feng didn't know how the female devil greeted him, but when he saw her extend her hand, Lin Feng also extended his hand and shook her lily-white hand. It was a pair of small and slender hands, but they felt a little cold to the touch. When they shook hands, the female devil stretched out her finger and scratched Lin Feng's palm. When Lin Feng looked at her, she winked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile bitterly. If a person was too outstanding, no matter where they went, there would be people fawning over them. Goddesses in other people's eyes would often let go of their modesty in front of them. However, Lin Feng wasn't someone who would accept anyone. At the very least, he needed to feel his heart race. "I'm very happy to meet you, Fairy," Lin Feng said, and then let go of the female devil's hand. It was unknown if the Little Peng King had noticed the female devil's actions. Even if he did, he would pretend that he didn't know anything. The Little Peng King said, "Fairy, I'm here to ask for your help in delivering a letter to the ancestral land of the devils." After saying that, the Little Peng King took out a letter and handed it to the female devil. The female cultivator replied, "This is a small matter. I'll arrange for someone to send the letter back soon." The Little Peng King said, "Thank you, Fairy." We'll take our leave now. Are we leaving now? Why don't you stay a little longer? The female monster cultivator asked. Little Lin Feng and I still have some things to take care of, so we won't be staying here for long. Since that's the case, I won't keep you. If you have time in the future, you must come and visit me. When the monster race female cultivator said these words, she looked at Lin Feng. Obviously, these words were meant for Lin Feng. Definitely, Lin Feng clasped his fists and left with the Little Rock King. After Lin Feng and the Little Peng King left, the female cultivator couldn't help but mutter to herself that famous emperor of the Sin clan is more interesting than I thought. Lin Feng and the Little Peng King left. She couldn't help but smile, but nobody knew what she was thinking. Lin Feng and the Little Peng King flew out of the city. The Little Peng King said that Yu Dailin isn't easy to deal with. You'd better not have any ideas about her. Lin Feng rolled his eyes and said, Look at what you're saying. You make it sound like I have to get my hands on every beautiful woman I meet. The Little Peng King smiled wryly. I know you're not that kind of person, but that Yu Dailin is very charming and she's trying to seduce you. I'm just worried that you won't be able to resist her seduction and will fall for her. Lin Feng said, I'm not interested in her, but you said she's not easy to deal with. What do you mean by that? The Little Peng King said, I heard that Yu Dailin cultivates the yang plucking technique. She specializes in absorbing other people's yang qi to increase her cultivation. So, it's best not to have any contact with her. I also heard that she's been sent to the Fiend City to take charge of the Fiend Ancestral Land's office there. The higher-ups of the Fiend Ancestral Land don't want to see her fooling around in the Fiend Ancestral Land, so they sent her out. When Lin Feng heard him, he nodded. He didn't pay too much attention to this matter. After all, Lin Feng didn't want anything to happen with this woman. The two of them met. At most, they were just acquaintances. There was nothing more to it. They didn't stop along the way and headed straight for the Heavenly Void Forest. The Heavenly Void Forest was located in the central region of the ancient Fiend Realm. It was said that there was more than one way to enter the Heavenly Void Forest. The cultivators from the top forces also entered the Heavenly Void Fantasy Land from different places. In addition to the passageways controlled by the major forces, there were also some other passageways. Most of those passageways were formed after cracks appeared in the small worlds. Once such places were discovered by the major forces, they would often find ways to block such passageways. The reason why the major forces did this was that they did not want the cultivators of other forces to enter the heavenly illusory land. They wanted to monopolize the Heavenly Void Fantasy Land. Therefore, once they discovered the passageways formed by these cracks, the various major forces would seal those passageways in the shortest amount of time possible. However, because the Heavenly Illusionary Land had existed for too long, there would be an endless stream of cracks appearing. Some rogue cultivators or cultivators from other forces would look for these cracks. As long as they searched with their hearts, they would definitely find some clues. They were unable to enter openly, but they were able to enter through the cracks. During the training period, the major forces wouldn't take the initiative to open the passage. Therefore, the cultivators from the major forces who entered the Heavenly Void Fantasy Land couldn't return from the original passage. If they wanted to come out, they could only find some small world cracks and come out from those cracks. Previously, Little Rock King was besieged by a large group of experts from the 4 major immortal sects. After getting rid of the experts from the 4 major immortal sects, Little Rock King found such a crack and flew out from it. However, the experts from the 4 major immortal sects followed closely behind. Little Rock King had been unable to shake them off. Originally, Little Rock King planned to rely on the ancient demon desert to get rid of the experts from the 4 major immortal sects. However, Not long after they entered the ancient demon desert, they encountered the Great Elder and the others from the Forgotten City. In the end, they were captured by the Great Elder and the others. Chapter 50-56. Lin Feng carefully observed the location of the entrance. The crack at the entrance was not that big. It was only about 1 meter wide and about 3 meters long. From time to time, powerful space-time energy would be emitted from it. The space-time energy was extremely powerful. If ordinary cultivators were to be sucked into it, they would probably die without a burial ground. Only a few powerful cultivators would be able to enter that place without worry. Lin Feng and Little Rock King were naturally not afraid. They flew towards the entrance. Whoosh, whoosh. The two of them were very fast. In the blink of an eye, they had rushed in. Light flashed in front of their eyes. When Lin Feng and Little Rock King appeared again, they had already arrived at the heavenly illusory realm. There was a special kind of energy fluctuation in the heavenly illusory realm. That kind of energy fluctuation was mixed with the power of the void, so one had to be careful when dealing with the power of the void. If one were to be attacked by the power of the void, it would be an extremely bad thing. On the way here, Lin Feng had already learned a lot about the situation of the heavenly illusory realm from Little Rock King. Other than various situations, Lin Feng also knew what kind of people had entered the heavenly illusory realm from the demon clan's ancestral land. For example, the Fire Qilin, Little Moon, Princess Shui Yao, Feng Yaorao, and the others had all come to the heavenly illusory realm. These people were all Lin Feng's old friends from the Sky Martial Continent. Needless to say, Feng Yaorao was Lin Feng's confidant and one of Lin Feng's favorite women. After arriving at the heavenly illusory realm, Lin Feng and Little Rock King planned to inquire about Feng Yaorao and the others. When they first entered the heavenly illusory realm, Little Rock King and the others were teleported to different places by the laws of the heavenly illusory realm. Therefore, during the time in the heavenly illusory realm, Little Rock King had not been able to meet Feng Yaorao and the others. When they passed by a mountain range, densely packed arrows shot towards Lin Feng and Little Rock King. Those arrows were very powerful, but they were not difficult for Lin Feng and Little Rock King. Lin Feng waved his hand, and a defensive light barrier appeared. It was the Vajra barrier of the Buddhist inheritance, shaped like a golden bell. When those arrows were shot, they all hit the Vajra shield's surface. The arrows were all deflected by the Vajra shield. The Little Rock King wasn't as strong as Lin Feng, but he couldn't be underestimated either. The Little Rock King raised his hand, and golden wings appeared on his back. The wings of the great rock flapped gently in the air. In an instant, a raging wind swept across the world. The wind created by the Vajra wings turned into a strong wind barrier. The astral wind light shield was impenetrable. When the arrows hit it, they were unable to break through the astral wind light shield's defense. One arrow after another fell down from the sky. TSK, you have some skills, as expected of the golden-winged great rock race. At that moment, a strange laughter came from the mountain forest. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Next, a high number of cultivators flew out. In total, there were over 100 cultivators there. The one who spoke was a cultivator in cyan robes. He was wearing the clothes of the Immortal Heaven sect. He was obviously from the Immortal Heaven sect. As for the other cultivators, they were wearing the clothes of the 4 great immortal sects. They were from the 4 great immortal sects. These guys were really like ghosts that wouldn't go away. Who are you? Little Rock King looked gloomily at the leader. He did not know this person. In reality, Little Rock King had been in the undying world for a while. However, Little Rock King rarely went out and spent most of his time in seclusion. Therefore, he was not very familiar with the geniuses of the undying world. Little Rock King wasn't even familiar with the geniuses of the 4 major immortal sects. Perhaps Little Rock King had heard the names of some top geniuses, but he probably didn't know what they looked like. Therefore, he couldn't recognize them when they met. If the other party introduced themselves, Little Rock King might know who they were. You don't even know King Feather? At that moment, a cultivator from the Immortal War sect looked at Little Rock King mockingly. What, you're King Feather? Hearing this, the Little Rock King's expression suddenly changed. When Lin Feng saw the change in Little Rock King's expression, he knew that King Feather was an extremely terrifying existence. However, Lin Feng did not know how terrifying he was. Lin Feng asked, "Is King Feather very strong?" Little Rock King smiled bitterly and nodded. He said, "King Feather has been cultivating for more than 50,000 years. When the top geniuses of the undying world were ranked, he was ranked 11th. He almost made it into the top 10. You can imagine how strong he is." Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Now, the reputation of the undying realm's 8 great young masters could be said to be known by everyone. Every few years, there would be a new ranking. Geniuses who could make it into the new ranking were definitely extremely terrifying. In the past, King Feather had participated in one of the rankings. He had almost made it into the top 10. It was obvious how strong and talented he was. That time, 10 top geniuses appeared. They were called the 10 heroes of the undying world. Little Rock King continued. Lin Feng nodded. He had naturally heard of the 10 heroes of the undying world. Lin Feng had met Prince Xian Yu of the 9 Serenities Demon Palace before. He was one of the 10 heroes of the undying world. Other than Prince Xian Yu, Prince Shui Yu of the 9 Serenities Demon Palace was one of the 8 great princes of the undying world. 2 geniuses in a sect, it was shocking. Yu Huaxian was an existence that could compete with Prince Xian Yu. He's really someone, Lin Feng said. Little Rock King smiled bitterly. He's not just someone. Nobody knows how strong he is. Besides, he has the Celestial King body, an extremely tyrannical type of body. Celestials are lofty and lofty, while Celestial Kings look down on the world. The Celestial King body is a type of body that can suppress the world. Only his enemies know how strong his body is, and his enemies are basically all dead now. Now that Little Rock King was frowning, it was no wonder that Little Rock King was so worried. First, King Feather was too strong. Second, there were so many experts by King Feather. On their side, there was only Lin Feng and him. The difference in numbers was too great.